Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Nerdiest Podcast 100th episode special!
Hello, and welcome to the Nerdiest Podcast, the show where nerds talk about nerdy things. I'm your host, Nick Barrett, and I'm joined by my co-host, my ride or die, Mr. Jackson Glass, who's in the room with me, by the way.
The room where it happened.
Because, as you heard at the beginning, this is our episode 100 special. We knew this, you only hit episode 100 once, right?
Right.
You can have another 100, you can get up to 200, and 300, 400, we'll get there eventually, but you only had 100 once, so we had to make it special. So we're in person. We have a ton of notes, a ton of Q&A. We're going to go into all of the podcast lore. We're going to go into a little bit of our content creation lore, how we met and became friends, the lore there.
Yeah.
And we also reached out to past guests
Woohoo!
and got comments from them. And we also have a ton of Q&A from you guys.
Yeah,
so
thank you so much.
it's going to be a very jam-packed episode, and you're going to want to stick around. It's not going to be as normal as we usually do,
and that's why it's special.
Exactly. we are going to talk a little bit about movies because we'll do our usual, what we've been watching. We'll go over our movie competition. If you haven't been tuned in, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. But with all that being said, Jackson, how are you doing?
Oh my gosh, this is so weird.
I know, right?
We have not done an in-person podcast together since we were in Hollywood studios.
Yes. But I don't even count that as
That
a
barely
full
counts.
podcast.
That was a
because we
bonus.
just set up, we took our phones and went like this.
Yeah.
And just talked into our phones.
And that was just a bonus. It wasn't even a real episode.
Exactly.
And so I'm doing very well. And I would do better if you subscribed on YouTube at The Nerdiest Podcast and followed on Instagram at The Nerdiest Podcast. We're having amazing original content going out, only exclusive on those platforms. So go follow on Instagram for updates on new episodes and whatnot. Subscribe on YouTube for amazing, amazing exclusive content and to watch video versions of the podcast that you're probably listening to right now. Now, I'm so good. We're here on the 100th episode.
Yeah.
This is probably the most consistent project I've actually committed to. And I just, I feel like this is a creative thing of when you have 2,000 ideas and then you actually do two of them. This is the one idea that actually worked.
Yeah.
And we're moving forward and have great big announcements because we're growing, which is incredible. So incredible. Because at the time of this episode launch, you can go to our new website, thenerdiestpodcast.com, and buy our official merch, where you can buy shirts, you can buy jackets, you can buy hats, you can buy stickers.
And that's it.
That's it for now, but we will have more merch drops later. We have a ton of fun ideas for merch.
Because as it gets colder outside, you gotta
change up
the wardrobe.
Change up your wardrobe.
Or if you're in a completely different
hemisphere,
you might be ready for some t-shirts.
Right.
So we gotta have everything available.
We gotta
for
have
everyone.
everything ready. So everything's on there at thenerdiestpodcast.com. Everything all the money that you buy that stuff, all the profit goes to us to help benefit the show, benefit our gas tanks. And so thank you so much for helping that and going on to there. We're also the launch of our Patreon, which is patreon.com/thenerdiestpodcast.
Yeah, everything will be linked in the
description. Everything will be linked in the description. Go support us on there if you want to subscribe for $1 a month or $5 a month with some great benefits there. Big stuff. We just had our short film, Grandma's Garden, just went to YouTube at The Glass Studios. It's my YouTube channel, which will also be linked below. And then later today, we actually get to go watch Grandma's Garden at a film festival.
Very cool.
And so it'll be very, very fun. Lots of fun stuff this weekend. We've been preparing for this episode for so long. And if we're finally here.
It almost feels relieving.
I feel
to
relieved.
be done. Oh man. Yes, episode 100 is very exciting.
Yeah.
But it feels so it'll be so nice to go back.
Yeah.
To just the normal
normalcy.
Every other week we sit
Right.
down, we record.
Right.
Because this was kind of hectic. Because
yeah.
I have to plan, okay, I get off work at this time, then I got to drive here, and we got to get all this stuff set up. And
yeah.
we were doing a lot of prep for the direct, which is on the YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, you can go check it out. So we were doing a lot of prepping for that. We had the content retreat 2 weeks before that.
Yep.
So like we've just been doing a lot to prepare for this episode that we wouldn't normally do. So with all of that, it's like, man, I can't wait for things to just calm back down.
Which I'm someone that loves special occasions. I love, like, if there's a party, we're wearing suits right now if you're watching the video.
I should note, this outfit right now is nicer than what I wore to my college graduation.
No, I need people to know how special it is for Nick to dress up. Because
I hate wearing suits.
Never dresses up. I love dressing up. I love events, parties, and so I'm so happy to be here, so thankful for our incredible audience that sustained us for 100 episodes. But man, this is a lot of work.
A lot of work.
And I'm pretty exhausted, and I'm glad I'm glad we get to do this before school starts.
I know, that was another thing.
I was like, the clock is ticking. I'm going back to school.
We had to make sure that we didn't drop any episodes, so this episode stayed where it was at, so that we didn't do it while you were in school, because that would have made things so much more
difficult.
Complicated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So here we are, episode 100. And so this week, I mean, what can I say? I've just been that's the thing. I don't have anything to say. Like, this week was just getting ready for this.
Exactly.
That was the whole week. And so I was getting ready for this. I was just at work a lot and, working on a lot of YouTube stuff right now, actually. So stay tuned for that. That's linked in the description.
Work is all I do now.
Both YouTube channels are getting a lot of work. So it's really nice to get up and work a little bit so that you can go to work and then come home and
do more work.
So yeah. Wow, that got really sad.
Very existential, man.
I was like, I had a moment where I was like, dang, I need a nap.
Man, I need a full night's sleep.
This is great. Full night? What? Full night sleep? Yeah.
Never heard of it.
So this was a good. I'm very glad you're here. And we had a very fun night last night. Nick went on his first cookout run.
Oh, true.
Which cookout run is a staple of the college Southern culture because it's the only place open past like 9 p.m. And so what was your experience of your first time going through cookout? We went at like 10:30. That's pretty peak cookout time. Cookout time is like 9 o'clock because that's when the dining room closes because you want to go through the drive-thru. 9 o'clock to 2 a.m. That's peak cookout time. Anything after that is insane. Anything after or before is insane. So tell me about your cookout experience.
So okay. Be honest.
Yeah.
A little overrated.
Yeah.
A little overhyped.
Yeah.
I think I like the vibe,
yeah.
But also I'm not one to eat after 7 o'clock. Like,
yeah.
That was like, I could tell last night my stomach was like, you are giving me food at 10:30 and you're going to go to bed?
Yeah.
What? No, you're not.
Yeah.
The burger also, they forgot my ketchup.
Which,
so cookout, do better.
Listen. It was a special order. I'm sorry.
It's not a special order. It was a plain cheeseburger, add ketchup.
Well, you're also 5 years old. Who orders a plain cheeseburger with ketchup?
Anyway, it was good. The fries were good.
Yeah.
I liked my crumble cookie a lot more.
Well, that's my hot take, though, is like crumble cookies went downhill.
I would disagree.
I feel like when crumble was first the hot new thing, they showed up everyone was like, oh, crumble's awesome. And then there was a crumble cookie in every town in America, at least one. And now everyone was like, oh my gosh, what's the flavors this week? I can't wait.
You know what's better than crumble? Insomnia. I had an Insomnia when I was in college. There was one right down the road. They have these massive cookies, man. They're the size of my head. And then they put icing in the middle and sandwich it.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. That was it. That was the cookie.
The thing is, if I'm going out to get a dessert, if I'm going out it's at night and I'm getting a dessert, I want something like ice cream or a milkshake. That's more my vibe. But I know that you can't really do dairy.
Nope, I'll die.
So the issue, gang. Nick is allergic to
everything.
And so he cannot go on a true cookout run without dying because you're allergic to chocolate and dairy.
Yeah.
And their best thing is the chocolate milkshake.
I mean, here's the thing. I can eat dairy. It's just
Not a good idea.
not a good idea
Yeah.
in the sense of being lactose intolerant. It also
Yeah.
doesn't help. Like,
Just tolerate it.
wow. I wish I could.
Wow.
I wish my body was built that way. Thank you for
just
giving.
say
That's like
no.
saying, "Hey, you have anxiety? Just don't
don't
feel nervous.
Just don't.
Just get happy."
Guys, what's sadness?
Wow, thanks.
Never heard of it. Wow.
Never even tried it.
Have you tried praying?
Have you tried praying? I hate. Okay.
Okay.
It's a valid answer, but I hate when it's used in place of like actual
like counseling.
Like, oh, you have trauma? Just pray about it.
Just pray. It's like
Yes, you
yes,
should.
absolutely.
But that's not the only thing you can do
Oh.
for this problem.
Yeah. Wow. Episode 100. Here's the thing. Post 100 is a new saga.
We're doing something completely
So
different.
I'm very excited about it, and it's not completely different. It's like pretty much the same thing. We're just pretending it's a new saga. But man, this new saga, we're talking about mental health.
All right, guys. Mental health.
Here's
in
the
movies.
thing.
Who has the best realistic depiction of a panic attack?
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and I will die on that hill.
Tanjiro from season 3 of Demon Slayer.
No.
Yes.
Listen,
Actually.
so-
yes.
I'm gonna say it because I feel like no one is saying it right now, and I don't want this to be controversial. I don't think anyone has said this yet. We need to talk about mental health.
I feel like a lot of people say that.
No one said that yet. That was an original thought that I just had.
Okay, well, here's my original thought. Cars 2 is the best movie in the entire trilogy.
Whoa.
Although I'm in hell.
Whoa.
I mean, listen.
Listen.
Cars 2, at least it did something original.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
don't know.
is another thing we announced in our direct. If you watch that
true.
on YouTube, is we are trying to get a YouTube subscriber goal of 1,000 subscribers. So you're looking at this 100 on the screen and
add another
balloons.
0.
At a 0. So 1,000 subscribers, and we will do a commentary video on the hit Pixar film
Cars
2, the second Cars movie.
Not the first one or the
Not
third
the
one.
second one.
The second.
No, it is the second one. That's my bad. Dang.
What did I say?
No, I said it wrong.
No, you said.
I said
The
not
first-
the second one,
Oh,
but it was the second
What an
one.
idiot.
That's my bad.
man, I can't believe I kept you around for 92
listen,
episodes.
listen.
I had to do the
listen.
math in my head. I
No,
was
no,
like,
no. Yeah, we're homeschooled.
Quick
It's
math.
okay. We're homeschooled. It's okay.
Hard pass.
Yeah, we ate our cookout and we watched some season 2 of Love is War,
Peak fiction.
which like every time this happens consistently. Every time we do an anime adventure, I say I would keep watching this,
And then you don't.
and then I don't.
This
and
man-
so
It's been over a year. Still has not started Demon Slayer season 2. Like, he had ample time to
Well-
watch season 2 before season 3 came out. I told him to watch season 2 so we could watch season 3 together.
well, I also
And then he didn't.
I also feel like, doesn't it ruin the point of the sub series if I just start watching it by myself?
Not series we've already watched.
That makes sense. That's
If we've
true.
already watched it, then it's fine. If we haven't watched it, like if you decided to just start watching My Hero Academia for no reason,
Yeah,
that would
defeat
ruin the
purpose.
sub-series.
Right.
But because we've already watched Demon Slayer, Spy Family, Sword
Yeah.
Art Online, I am going to bring Sword Art Online back.
Okay. I'm okay with
For
Sword
a
Art
poll.
Online.
We're going to keep doing that.
Because we got to do the movie.
Well, no, I mean like the anime.
Oh, the anime?
Like, just keep
Ew,
going.
no.
Yeah, hey,
I don't want to do that.
you can vote.
Oh,
Just saying. Not
man.
now. We the next one, I'll announce it right now.
It's your
'Cause
civic
the
it's
poll-
your civic duty to vote for what anime I'm going to watch next.
Yes, the poll is closed now
Go to the polls.
because we've already picked the next one. You guys, it was really tight margin actually.
Really?
The options were My Hero, Full Metal Alchemist, and Attack on Titan. And My Hero got like 17%, and then it was really just duking it out between Full Metal Alchemist and Attack on Titan. And Full Metal Alchemist was ahead for a while, but in the end, Attack on Titan won out. And I
Yeah.
also had to add the Spotify poll votes to Attack on Titan, so that bumped it over. So
Okay.
we're doing the entire first season of Attack on Titan. So if
Stick
you
around.
haven't seen it, or you want to rewatch it so you can kind of know what we're talking about or be refreshed, you've got some time. I think that episode
Yep.
comes out in October. There'll be an Instagram post about it later. Because
Yeah.
that was one thing we're doing in this new era.
New saga.
Is for stuff like anime adventures and franchise revisits, we really want you guys to feel like you're a part of it. And it's not like we're just dropping a My Hero Academia episode on you. We're dropping an Attack on Titan. Like, we want you to know, hey, we're going to watch these episodes and the episode, like our episode comes out on this day. So you know when to be done so you can participate in the discussion of that topic. So that's definitely something we're doing moving forward.
Audience involvement is going up.
Yeah, it did feel like we were just like, and Spy Family.
Yeah.
Like, you guys voted for it, but I didn't say, oh, we're watching the first 12 episodes. Or like,
we're like, oh, by the way, we just watched all the Indiana Jones movies. I hope you're caught up on that.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, hold on.
Like, we had casually mentioned, like, oh, the next episode is Indiana Jones. But I feel like that's not enough prep time.
Right. No, literally.
Like, we can watch 4 movies in 2 weeks, but can you? That's the better question.
We really can't
Who's
watch
to
2
say?
movies in... sorry, I just had a visceral reaction. You know when, like, people you've never seen and haven't seen in forever post on BeReal?
Oh, yeah. Or Instagram or any social media.
That's weird.
So do you want to do the movie competition now?
Yeah, let's talk about what we've been watching.
And then jump into a couple Q&A questions?
Also, just full disclosure, we haven't recorded in 2 weeks because we pre-recorded the last episode.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. You're right.
Because we recorded it before Content
Retreat.
And that was...
So the movie...
No, it's been a month because we recorded... Content Retreat was...
Oh my goodness.
Like 3 weeks ago.
We have not recorded an episode.
It's been a while.
So essentially we have a lot to talk about, movies that we've seen, but also know that we're going to be saving
a lot of
deeper, longer conversations for our next episode, which is the summer movie recap.
Yes.
Where we recap all the movies we watched this summer and all the new ones and stuff. So we will get to talk about Barbie and Oppenheimer and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all this stuff later, just yet. Also, I just thought about this. I want to acknowledge this. We're kind of like on strike.
We're not.
I mean, we're not.
We're not.
I'm having episode 100. I don't know what you guys are doing.
I was going to mention that. Like, I did want to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, address that real quick.
Hey, you know, here's the thing. Is a lot of Hollywood is on strike at the moment. And it's a difficult thing to talk about because I honestly don't know where we stand yet. Like, personally. Obviously, yes, writers and actors and everyone should be paid fairly.
Right,
that's
absolutely.
That's not the question. It's just, I don't know, maybe write better stuff. Like, if you wrote better stuff, people would go see your movies and, like, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Which isn't... The issue is wholeheartedly greedy studio heads.
Yes, absolutely.
1,000%. That's what the strike is about. But we're also not union.
Exactly.
We are wholeheartedly independent. And so it's kind of like I feel like we have to take a side, but I don't know.
But we don't, because we're not
what
union.
that means. Like, what is, like, I don't know. Essentially, we're aware that that everyone's on strike and it's a big deal and we'd like to talk about that, but right now
it's coming up in a later episode.
Party. Right now we're having a party and we're not trying to
bring the
party down. So anyway, we know there's a strike. It sucks and I'm rooting for writers to get better pay, but
I'm rooting for the downfall of Hollywood.
Let's just go full independent, baby.
Let's break it down, man.
So yeah, we're rooting for better pay, however that may. We'll talk about that later, but not right now. That's not the time.
That's a completely different episode.
I wanted that out there. So what have I watched since?
I'll do what I've watched while you figure that out, because I really only have a couple things to note.
Yeah.
Since the last episode, I haven't watched a ton, just because I've been really busy with prepping for this and working and all that. Some highlights. I'd seen Indiana Jones by the last time we recorded. Yeah. So I've already talked about that. I finally went and saw Sound of Freedom, which was really good. It's a hard movie to say, like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that movie, just because of the topic, which, if you're unaware, it is it's based on a true story of these 2 kids who were caught up in child trafficking, and it's about this guy who goes to rescue them. And very well put together movie. But it's also, because of the subject matter, it's very hard to be like, oh yeah, I'll watch that, on a casual, like, oh, you guys want to watch a movie? Let's watch Sound of Freedom. Like, it's a movie I think a lot of people should see, just to kind of be like, hey, this is the real world. Like, we can sit here and talk about, like, oh yeah, that happens and it's so sad. But, like, it showed things in a very realistic light. So I think everyone should see it for that reason, just so you're aware.
Just to educate. It's an educate movie.
Yes. It's not a let me turn this
on a Friday night. Let's watch Sound of Freedom.
Right.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I went and saw Barbie. We'll talk about
it later. That's going to be a very long conversation.
I have not gotten to see Oppenheimer yet.
Yeah.
My double feature of depression and fun was Sound of Freedom and then Chick-fil-A and then Barbie. That was my back-to-back of depression and then something fun.
Double feature depression fun sounds like Thanksgiving at my house.
Hey!
That's Thanksgiving Christmas.
So after that, I'll talk about briefly for now.
Yeah.
And then I'll talk about it more in the summer movie.
Oh gosh.
My favorite movie of the summer.
Stop.
So far.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much.
My favorite movie of the summer so far is the Miraculous Ladybug movie that dropped on Netflix last week.
Guys,
I'm gonna have so much to say about that movie.
Pray for Nick's counselor.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
I really just I had a revelation, and I don't know if I can say that. I'm gonna wait till the summer movies episode.
Okay. What? That I like kids movies?
That you don't like adult movies. That's what I was gonna say. Is you don't like movies that are meant for adults.
No, I don't, because they're dumb and boring.
Yeah.
I want to watch a movie about a girl and a guy who dress up like a ladybug and a cat who run around France and fight the bad guy and sing songs, okay?
Is that so
and
bad?
And then they fall in love.
Is that
so wrong?
That's why you don't like La La Land.
No,
because La La Land is a movie for adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can
we can
go
into
more
that
to that
later.
Conversation.
There's way more to that conversation.
I also saw Haunted Mansion last week. That is the most recent movie I've seen.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
That's a good movie. And I'm tired of pretending it's not. Tired of pretending it's not.
Rare Disney W, by the way.
Very rare Disney W.
I was really worried about that one. And then I realized I didn't have to be.
Aw, tender.
How sweet. What about you?
I've watched a lot of random crap that so I can't really remember where I left off. So I'll just hit the hits. I went to New York with my family, and there we watched Jesus Revolution.
Oh, you finally watched it.
I finally watched it, which is very good. I got a little nervous partway through because I thought they were going to get really hooky. And he started be healed. And I was like,
yeah, I did get sussed out about that in the theater.
Know how well, I kept reminding myself, I was like, my mom has seen this. She approved it, which that's the perfect homeschooler response. My mommy approved this movie,
my mom
so I shouldn't be scared.
I can watch the first Narnia because they don't kiss.
Well, they watched it in theaters. I didn't watch it in theaters. I went and saw Cocaine Bear instead.
I saw both. Get on my level.
But yeah, I really liked it. They handled it really well. Sometime we'll talk about the full story, because they actually leave out the ending is nice, but it leaves out a lot of the true story,
right? Which
is super interesting, and I get why. But that's a whole long thing. So I really like that. I saw Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm going to say it, guys. Barbie is better. And it's not just because Oppenheimer's 3 hours long. Oppenheimer is a masterclass in directing, acting, writing, and editing.
But
if you cannot sit through 3 hours of political dialogue, it's not for you. And that's where I'm at, is I appreciate this movie so much, and I really appreciate the style, and Christopher Nolan is an incredible director. All the actors are doing incredible, but it's one of those I saw it and I think I'm okay. I saw it. I think it's very impressive, and I don't have a desire to watch it again just because it's exhausting. Where I'm going to watch Barbie again, on a fun Thursday night, just pop in Barbie and be like, oh, this is funny.
It's funny you say that about Oppenheimer because I haven't seen it yet, and my stepsister wants to go see it again, and she was like, "Hey, when you go see it, let me know because I want to go see it again."
No,
and I was like, I find it hard to sit through 3-hour movies.
Yeah.
Like that's
not
just
even
such a long time.
And that's
commitment.
a Christopher Nolan thing. Is he just likes long movies, which is okay. I'm not gonna sit here and say how dare you make a movie longer than 90 minutes, but I also like Christopher Nolan understands his audience, and he knows that the diehard film bros are gonna go watch all 3 hours, and that's a great thing. Like that's a great thing. It just means that you can't casually turn it on. That's why Barbie made more money, because you just have these hordes of college girls wearing all pink going to see it, where they're, the guys are going to go see Oppenheimer and the guys are going to go see Barbie. But I know a lot of the girls that are going to see Barbie that aren't going to see Oppenheimer. And so I don't know. We'll dig deeper into that. The power went out partway through Oppenheimer.
Oh
in the
yeah,
movie
you texted
theater.
me about that.
We'll dig into that. I watched both of those. I watched The Muppets. I watched Wayne's World. Great movies. Like nothing I need to write home about. But I also saw Haunted Mansion. That didn't go on in my list. Oh,
yikes! I will say briefly, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is still the highest-grossing film worldwide right now, but Barbie is already at 800 million. It's at 852 million right now. It's past Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and it's only been out for what, 2 weeks? 3?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that says a lot.
Yeah. Do you think Barbie will top Mario? Personally, I think it will because it has a high rewatchability. I think it will.
I don't think it should.
I personally think it should.
I don't.
I think it should.
I don't.
We'll dig into that.
By the way,
Next
what did you
episode.
give Barbie? 5 stars?
I said, thinking back, I said 5.
What's your review right now? Not like retrospective.
As of right now, 5.
Mine's 2.
I was gonna say,
just so you know, like where we're at,
where we're standing
on the spectrum right now. I'm a hard 2. Even after like all of the retrospective thinking I've done on it, after that, I'm still a 2.
After the retrospective thinking, I'm leaning more towards 4, but I still like, even just the fact that I'm still thinking about it keeps it at a 5. TBH.
That's wild.
Yeah,
can't
it's
relate.
Good. So we'll dig into that on the next episode. Stay tuned.
What's your number?
But what's you first?
Me first. 80.
80?
Yeah.
79.
I thought you passed me so long ago. I
No.
kept seeing all of your like rewatches pop
Yeah.
up. I thought you passed me.
No. 70.
All right.
I'm at 79 movies for the year.
Do you want to
You're
know
at
why
80.
I've slowed down?
Why?
Because I'm watching new movies that I've never seen before. Instead
Yeah.
of sitting at work watching,
and just casually watching Princess and the
casually watching
Frog
3
and-
movies a
yeah.
day. I have to be more intentional because we're
Right.
getting close. Like I've done the filler to boost me up. Now I
Right.
have to actually like
Well,
watch
also,
real
you
movies.
don't want every movie on your list to be a rewatch.
Right.
Or
Then
like,
it doesn't
I kind
feel
of
as
watched that in the background.
disingenuous. I will say we're not doing this again next year. I've never felt so stressed about watching
movies.
I'm like, no, I can't do this again.
I
It's a
feel
cool
like-
challenge for this year. Can't do this again.
I feel like, no, that's what I was thinking too, is I was like, it's August, beginning of August. I'm going to hit 100 September, October.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, and then I'm going to catch up on my shows.
That's what I'm doing right now.
But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it has doing the 100 movie in a year challenge, which by the way, isn't that hard? You just,
I think it's just that we've stacked the competition part
right
on top of
on
it.
top of it.
It's
To where
like we're racing to 100 now.
it's
So
not
you
just,
feel like you have to watch more.
right. It's not
to
just
make up for
get
that.
to 100. Because if I was like 100 in a year, I'd probably be at like
50 right now.
50. But
I'd
that's-
probably be closer to 60.
But that's what I like about it, is it's making me watch new movies, and it's making me not, I don't want to say not care as much about what I watch, but not overthink what I'm watching.
Right, just turn something on.
I just need to turn
It
something
doesn't
on.
have to be good.
Right, just turn something on. That's how I watched Wayne's World, and ended up really liking it. So,
I have a ton of movies on my list. Like, if I watched every movie that's on my like movies I want to watch this year, I would surpass. I'd be
No,
like
me
a
too.
110.
Me too.
So I need to just go through and like watch movies. But it's been so hard because we've been so busy.
Right, we've been really busy. But I
So-
also, I'm also looking at like the theater lineup. After Teenage
Drying up, man.
After Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I don't think there's anything else
Gran
that looks
Turismo.
good. No, I'm not watching that gamer propaganda.
What?
Get out of here.
What?
That movie looks so dumb.
I'm gonna watch it.
I know you're going to watch it, but I've seen the trailer, and the trailer is like 8 minutes long.
What's left for this year? FNAF after that?
Yeah, other than that, I think...
the creator from Gareth Edwards,
yeah,
I think, who
I'm gonna
directed
watch
Rogue
the
One.
creator.
I'm going to watch that.
I'm going to watch the creator. I'm going to watch the FNAF movie. I'm going to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hopefully next week.
I think that's it.
Other than that, I mean, they may really announce any... Have they announced anything for like Christmas?
Nope.
Like what are the blockbusters for the December
There's
season?
one that's supposed to come out on Christmas that they said they're not. Oh, Aquaman.
Ew.
Aquaman 2, which has not had a single trailer, by the way.
Yeah.
They're hard holding to that.
I think Amber Turd is in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they found a way to write her out, kill her off like 10 minutes in.
Honestly,
But I think she's in
I
it.
might go see it
If they kill
Is
her
it
off,
awful?
I'll be like, ooh.
Like if she gets like decapitated or something.
Can they just put a singular, like break the lore entirely, put a single pirate in there and have him kill her character off? I would have done it. I would have submitted it as my script. I'm like, hey.
That'd be, yeah. Like
That's
a
it.
Jack Sparrow-esque character.
Yeah, not Johnny Depp, obviously.
Not Johnny Depp, of
We
course
don't want
not.
them on the same set.
No, of
Can't
course
do that
not.
to him.
Keep them away from each other. Because
But-
they're both crazy, but she's crazier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We see who won that court case.
This is coming from the man who convinced the world he has scissors for hands.
Anyway.
Get out of here. So, do you want to jump into some Q&A?
Yeah, we got a lot of questions.
We got a lot of questions.
Lot of questions.
Thank you so much if you submitted questions. We really, really appreciate it.
Are we just gonna?
Do you want to start at the top?
Yep.
Do you want to do all the YouTube questions now?
No, I think we space them out. I think we do
Okay.
the first three. And then
All right.
we'll jump into some lore.
You can hit the first one.
All right. So this is the only Spotify question we got.
Thanks for nothing, Spotify listeners. I'm just kidding. I love you.
We hate you.
I'm
Even
just
though you
kidding,
make
I
up
love you.
60% of our listener base, please don't leave. From Garbage Rat on Spotify. Thoughts on the Myers-Briggs type indicator / your types. I think it's cool, but it should not be taken seriously.
I like brunettes.
Like
That's my type.
that's not. Wow, I should hope so. Your girlfriend is a brunette. I really hope that's your type. No, I think all of those types, like the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram and like all of those, they're cool, but don't turn it into the next astrology where you're like, ugh, I can't date a type 4.
Right.
Like it's a cool thing to do to learn a little bit more about yourself that you might not have already known, but don't take it super seriously.
Right. I think it's a good social science.
Yeah.
But that's all it is social science. Like you can't, like the main thing I've done in that realm is the Enneagram. So like I know I'm a 7-wing 8.
I'm a 3-wing 4.
Okay. But also like I don't know what that means. I don't know what 3-wing 4 is.
I
I know
don't
what
either.
mine is.
I just know when people ask me what's your Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 3.
And they're like,
I literally
yes,
don't
you
know
such a
anything about
3.
it.
That's the thing about Enneagram people is I'm like, oh, I'm a 7. They're like, oh my gosh, you're right. You're such a 7. And I'm like, okay.
What does that mean?
What does
do
the
you
frick does that
mean?
mean? But it's also, I think it's a good social science, essentially, is I'm like, oh, it helps, especially for conflict resolution.
Right.
It helps me understand how people operate, but I'm not going to be like, you're a 9. You can't do that. Oh my gosh. So I've heard Myers-Briggs is a little more scientific, but I don't know if science was real. I would.
So I forgot we have 2 questions that we haven't written down. So
Oh,
I'm going to
shoot.
do those 2 now.
You're
so we don't forget.
right.
First one is from Instagram.
Yep.
From Eli, which is Zoe Ott's brother.
Zoe Ott's brother. Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
writing in.
Thank
by the
you,
way.
Eli. Eli Ott.
What's the best and worst parts about operating a podcast like this?
Mm.
So do you want to do best or worst first?
I think worst is hard to answer.
For me, worst is Discord. The Discord delay sucks. I mean, we used to use Skype. That was the
Skype
worst.
was worse.
But
I think
Discord it's better, but it's not perfect.
I think that the worst thing I mean, I could say the time commitment, but it's also just kind of a given. And it's because it's hard to say, the worst part is the time commitment, but it's like, I do it willingly.
Right.
Like I just kind of do it because I love it. And so I think the worst is probably when one is self-promotion, because being when you're the host, you're the editor, you're the manager, you're the social media manager, it's a lot.
Right.
And so you have to wear a lot of hats, where in the future, I would like to be able to be a host and manage and do this, but I don't want to have to be like, oh gosh, I'm not posting reels every day on Instagram. Like, oh gosh, I'm so
delegate
stressed.
to other people. Hey,
Right.
You're editing this episode. You're editing the shorts. This person's editing, our long form YouTube videos. This person's running the social media. Like, just get a very not hands off, but like
a well-oiled machine.
We come in and we record and do the host stuff, and that's it.
Right. Because I love editing. Editing is like my passion. That's what I love to do. But it's also, when you have to wear every hat, it just gets draining.
Yeah.
And it gets exhausting.
If you guys want to help us hire people, go to patreon.com/Nerdiest podcast.
/the Nerdiest podcast.
Only you can get us to the point where we can hire other people to make the podcast better.
And best part, I mean, I think just the community. Like, that's kind of I don't know if that's basic answer, but like even the community like we found online, or whether that's from like other podcasts or just fans or people that come up to me and they're like, oh, I listened to this and I agree with this or I disagree with this. And it just makes it a community thing where it's not just me, like, cause we can talk about, right. Like I can talk to you about Barbie, but like, when my opinion is out there, other people come to me. They're like, "Oh, this is what I thought," and I'm like, "Yes."
You didn't like No Way Home? Die.
Yeah.
That's how I knew I made it. Was when someone was like, "Yeah, this guy's got to go. He didn't like No Way Home." I was like, "Finally,
I did it."
Getting some death threats. All right, now we're getting somewhere.
Should I read the? Dang, we totally forgot to add the.
I have another question from Twitter. This one,
go ahead and
is really just for me.
All right,
so I'll go through it pretty quick.
Yeah.
I asked this one. This one's from Twitter. I asked on my personal Twitter account, my followers. I was like, guys, we need more questions. So they threw some questions. Thanks, guys. This one is from Teach Good Amalthus in Disguise on Twitter. Thank you. What's your favorite My Hero Academia arc and your least favorite arc? Same with characters. And if I can ask another, do you like the latest arcs of My Hero, or do you think it's been handled a bit sloppy? I don't know if you're a manga reader or not. Okay, I am a manga reader. So
dang,
I'm going to knock these out real quick.
Holy cow.
Favorite arc is easily
Noah's Arc.
Anyway, moving on.
That was funny.
Favorite arc, I think I'm going to go with the Culture Festival arc. I think a lot of people think that one's underrated, and they're like, oh, it's just filler. No, and it's like my favorite villain, my favorite Deku outfit, and I think it's just a really important, like, it is that more slice of life in, like, coming off the heels of a very dark arc. Not near as dark as some of the stuff we're doing now.
Dark arc.
But coming off the heels of that, a very important, like, lift to the mood. As for least favorite arc, probably something towards the beginning. I think there were, like, those training things they did for school were kind of lame and unnecessary. I would also say the provisional licensing exam is probably my least favorite. Just because it's kind of like a slack. Don't say like you've seen the series.
Yeah, yeah.
You're just over here like, I agree.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Based.
As for characters, my favorite, Deku. Easy.
Duh.
That's pretty obvious if you've watched any of the podcast. Least favorite character, I don't know. That one's kind of hard. I don't like have a character that I hate. I'll just go with the easy answer. Mineta is the worst.
Dang.
And last question, do I like the latest arcs? Or do I think it's handled a little bit sloppily? I think I could go both ways. I think Horikoshi has some really really banger chapters, but then I also think there are some where he just, I don't know.
He just misses.
They're not misses. They're just not as good. And I know that can have a lot to do with he's taken a lot of breaks recently because of his health. And I think that has a lot to do with it. So I won't say sloppily. I'll just say it seems like he wants to be done and he's moving things along a lot quicker.
Okay.
And just is like, let's keep this rolling. Let's keep this moving.
Do you want me to rapid fire the other questions we asked last night that we didn't write down?
Oh, we didn't write those down?
No.
All right, go for it.
All right. Sam Glass says story time of your friendship. That'll come later.
We're getting to it.
Biggest podcast regret.
Is that say an hour and 43 minutes?
No. That says 43 minutes.
Oh.
Because the time code starts at 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're so right.
Yep.
I was like, we've already been going for an hour and
my
45 minutes.
gosh!
What?
What happened?
We didn't even get to the good stuff.
So, biggest podcast regret.
I have an answer, but I can't say. You told me I have to be nice.
Let's just say biggest podcast regret is, I don't know, I need to be nice.
I'll say it. Okay. Biggest podcast
Let's just
regret.
say there's a reason that podcast
There's a reason that there's two of us now.
There's a reason that podcast is a wife privilege.
Yes. And actually, here, I'll phrase it like this. and be a little nicer. Biggest podcast regret, not being more selective with our guests.
That's a good way to say.
Because really early on, we just kind of
let anyone on.
Like
me.
You have a pulse. You have like 5 brain cells. Yeah, let's talk about whatever.
Yeah.
But now, and not to sound like pretentious of like,
right,
you can't be on our podcast. Like, just
when
vetting
you have
that some people are not saying those people aren't talented or not like they shouldn't have input in the conversation. Yes, but whether or not they are gifted in the sphere of being on a podcast.
Yeah,
is the better way to phrase that.
But it's also hard because early on, and when you want people, you just got to grab your friends.
Right.
You got to be like,
because you don't know anyone else.
Yeah, no, you just like, you're like, oh, come on here. And I'm not going to say like, don't do podcasts with your friends, because you should pretty much
absolutely
only do
you should do
podcasts
with your friends.
But, and I'll get into this a little later, I did another podcast for a little bit called the Coffee Time Podcast. And we're trying to revive it. All this, there's a lot of like, there's a long story.
I'm telling you, gotta let me buy you out.
Listen, what's your price?
What's your price?
$10,000.
All right, never.
Okay, so
you're not worth $10,000. That brand is worth $200 max.
200. That's a lot
compared to this podcast.
No, that's true.
Comparatively.
That's true.
What's the net worth of Coffee Time?
Essentially, there was a lot like back and forth, but like there was a couple people that we let guest on there that I was just like, this is a miss. Like, why? Like, not even in like you're a bad person. This like, but like content wise, this is a miss. Like, this isn't the person that should be doing this in that sense. And so early on in the Nerdiest podcast, even before I was on the show,
I just let anybody on.
You just let anyone on.
And that was hard.
Which means that when it's time to let those people go off the show, it gets complicated. It gets messy.
It gets very complicated,
it's very
especially
messy.
Depending on the attitude those people have with it, because some take
it better than others.
Yeah.
You know.
Some people are very chill. Like I'll name drop this one. Like Colin, who started the podcast with me, he just kind of stopped being on episodes, and like we're still friends.
Right.
We're still very good friends. We did Joystick Drift together. Like we're still great friends to this day. And when I was like, hey, like, do you still want to do it, or like do you want to step out? Like it was a very amicable separation of like, oh, like you just don't have the time. Like we're not talking about the topics that you're knowledgeable on. That's great. And then there's other people we've had on who I won't say who did not take it very well.
No.
And maybe that was a little on us.
Right.
Because maybe we set the expectations wrong.
Right. No, that's why it's a regret.
But then we realized like, oh,
this isn't working.
We need to just be more professional.
Not in a mean way, but in a business way.
Right.
Because to run I don't know how many times I have to say, to run a successful podcast, even when you're indie, like you have to operate like a business.
Exactly.
You truly do.
If it's not working for the audience or the vibe's not right. You got to fix it.
You got to just, and I'm not saying like cut off people, like don't ruin relationships, this and that, because that's like, debatably not worth it. based on your
But
situation.
just be aware of like,
don't just let anyone on.
right? Like,
and then be.
are you knowledgeable on more than this one topic? Because if
Right.
it's like, oh, you're super knowledgeable on webkins, like, oh yeah,
Right.
let's do a webkins
Yeah,
episode. But you also have to ask yourself, do we have the audience
Right.
to do that?
So like
would our audience care?
So like my friend Colin, the other Colin that was on Childhood Games, he knows I was so expecting him to be like, let's talk about movies, because biggest movie film bro I ever known. And he was like, oh, I want to talk about childhood video games. And I was like, really? And so that's a person that could come on for 3 or 4 different episodes. Like he could go on. Even Gavin like knows just random crap.
Right.
That you're like, oh, this and that. But like essentially not vetting in the roundabout sense of the question. Biggest podcast regret is not being as selective of guests as we should have been early on.
I like how you said rapid fire when you spent like 10 minutes on
No,
that one
literally.
question.
Well, that one was deep.
That one was kind of deep.
Deep. All right. Next, AJ from the Genre Geeks legend. What advice would you give yourself back at episode 1?
That's another long.
Don't vet your guess.
Vet your guess.
I don't have like a super articulate answer.
You can't answer that
Oh.
because you weren't here on episode 1.
Dang, okay.
I'm just kidding.
That's another story we'll get into. I don't have a super articulate answer. I would have told myself to calm down and just have fun, because I think I was so scared to say things that I'm so open to saying now.
I think that's why we work really well, because I will absolutely I
Right.
just did.
You just say whatever you want.
I was like, all right, let's say it. Yeah, let's get
Miraculous
it out
Ladybug
of
was
here.
my favorite movie. Right. So I think early on I was very careful of what I said and was not my truest self. And so that was my biggest advice, is just relax and just let your personality shine, because like that's okay.
Yeah, I would say to episode 1, me, first of all, you don't need to talk about episode 1 of Ruby for 2.5 hours. Okay, start there. Second thing is just be yourself
Mm-hmm.
from episode 1, and kind of in the similar vein to Jackson, like don't conceal how much you know, because there's some stuff. I go back and listen to old episodes where I know that in that moment I knew the answer, but to not seem like, oh, he's such a weird nerd,
Right.
I would Google it anyway. To be like,
Right.
oh, let me Google this. Like, oh, what's the release date of this Tears of the Kingdom trailer? Even though
Right.
I know
You know it's there.
it's June 13th, 2021 or whatever.
Right.
Like, just be open about those kind of things.
Getting
and like,
over the
if
audience
people don't like
perception.
it,
Sorry.
it's whatever. They can
It's
leave.
on them. That's the thing, is it's your podcast.
Exactly.
You can do what you want with it.
right.
So, great question.
Thank
Great
you.
question. Zoe Ott, our fearless graphic designer, said, "What
Fearless
originally
graphic designer. That is such an accurate title.
What originally inspired the podcast?" We'll get into that.
Yeah,
We'll get
coming.
into
We'll
that.
loop back around to that one.
Amy said, my beautiful girlfriend said, "What was your most favorite podcast?" Which is so
I don't
difficult.
even know.
I don't even know, man.
This one. This episode. I don't know.
This
I
one.
know we both have a least favorite because it's so easy to pick a
Yeah,
least
it's so
favorite.
easy to be like that one that we did where we just talked about YouTube for like 3
Where
hours.
I talked about my YouTube
Yeah.
channel for an hour.
Yeah, that was gross.
Episode 12. Don't go listen to it. It's bad.
Recently, revisiting Indiana Jones has been my favorite episode recently.
Really?
I think of all time, the Marvel fatigue episode is probably my
Ooh.
favorite, and not just because we predicted the entire writer's strike
And also the
word
downfall of
for
Marvel.
word, and the downfall of Marvel.
That's on us, by the way.
But that was the first episode that I cut clips out of and thought we could do this.
Right.
Like we're
Like,
doing
this is
this.
it.
This is it. Also, I got to give my top 3. Jurassic Park-taculars in
Oh,
the top 3.
that is such a good
Jurassic Park-taculars in the top 3.
one. The Honda Civic bit.
The Honda Civic bit,
Jurassic
dude.
Park is just
Jurassic
a Honda
Park is a
Civic.
Honda
They made
Civic.
one good one, and then you're like, oh, these
You're like,
other
oh, it's a
5
Honda
are
Civic.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, for me, I think my favorite recently, oh man, I would say probably Downfall of Disney.
That's a solid one.
I think that one's
Because that was researched.
that was researched. That was also one I'd really wanted to do for a while. And I was like,
nervous.
you know what? Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And we were kind of worried about that one.
We're like,
In
is
the
this
sense-
too political? Like,
Yeah.
is it?
Because as we got to the end, in that episode, we kind of talked about like the woke stuff,
Mhm.
which, as you can tell if you've listened since then, is not what we talk about on the regular.
No, right.
It was kind of like, it fits in the context of this conversation, and it would be kind of disingenuous to leave it out.
Right,
I was worried about it because we'd never done anything like that.
right.
It was also the first time I felt like on the podcast that we took a stance of like, hey, we're both good Christian homeschool kids. This is why we don't like this
Right,
thing. And it was a
right.
very like line in the sand. I
Mhm.
don't like this thing.
I don't like Lightyear.
And I'll tell you, that episode, it's the best performing episode on YouTube.
Yep.
And it is one of the best performing episodes on Spotify.
Mm.
And it's our number 6 most listened to episode. It broke the top 10,
Dang.
which we had not done in a long time.
Long time.
So I'm really glad,
Really
that
glad.
episode went well. Favorite of all time? That's so hard. What do we talk about for 100 episodes?
I'm wondering that
What have we
too.
talked about?
I
Like,
have said
I
so much
genuinely don't
crap.
remember.
I've said so much crap on this show that people will relay to me that I was like, when did
When
I
did I
say
say
that?
that? I don't
When did
remember
say
saying that.
I think you're gaslighting me.
Favorite of all time? It's so hard.
Our original Disney Channel ranking list.
Yeah. I'll go with that one. That was a good one.
Miley Reagan said, last question, and then we'll move on to something else. Said, what aesthetic would your Mojo Dojo Casa house be?
Legos.
Is Lego an aesthetic?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it is.
Okay.
Mine would be
Um,
Legos.
I've been really into like neutral greens.
Oh, that's what we mean by aesthetic?
I don't know. I don't know what you said. Legos.
Yeah, like you
I-
walk in the house. What's the vibe of this house? Like, what
Legos.
do you get? Legos.
You want to build a house out of
Legos
Legos
everywhere.
I'm really into right now like these like not dark green but like darker green walls, and it's like a super cozy living room. Essentially, my Mojo Dojo Casa house needs to look like
Me.
a lo-fi background. That's where I'm at.
Just turn into the lo-fi girl.
Yeah, no, literally. I'm like,
All right. So, we've got plenty to go over here.
we've got plenty to go over. This episode's gonna be so long,
It's
and
gonna
I'm
be a long
so
Hi,
glad.
editing Nick. Have fun with this.
Anyway,
You're editing this so it'd be on time, right? Okay.
so
More
we,
time.
We also want to take this opportunity to share a little bit of the story of the podcast and share a little bit of our own personal content journeys, if you will. Share a bit of the lore. And I'd like you to go first because
The
you're
lore?
first in the notes. And this is a good story. Last
All
time
right.
you told this story, it took how long?
An hour and a half.
And how long is it going to be this time?
10 minutes.
If that.
10 minutes or less
Or less.
is the goal.
Yeah.
So, I'll just go over so I have it listed as like content origin story.
Mhm.
I started making content. Okay, it's all related because this is what got me to the podcast, right? So, for me, it started out with watching YouTube reviewers.
Yeah.
On YouTube, of course.
Whoa.
Reviewing Star Wars action figures, and I thought, oh, I want to do that. So I
Mhm.
pulled out this like really old video camera that my mom got me. I wish I could throw footage on screen, but I can't because they're stuck on these tiny little DVDs that I haven't figured out how to convert yet. But it was just me with a video camera, action figures set up, talking like, hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube video.
Mhm.
Today we're going to be reviewing the 2009 vintage Star Wars Luke Skywalker action figure from Return of the Jedi. So I did that for a while, and I always wanted to post it on YouTube, but I couldn't, we didn't have the
Mhm.
tech. Because something I think we take for granted now is how easy it is to upload stuff. It
Yeah.
was not easy in
Because it
2011.
was just YouTube.
It was just it was YouTube. You had to have a DSLR. You had to have a video camera. You
Right.
had to have all of this equipment just to get stuff uploaded. And now it's so much easier because you can take a video with your phone and upload from your phone and do everything
Mhm.
from your phone. You don't need a camera. You don't that would be my biggest YouTube advice is just use your phone. But that's a
Yeah,
different
Just go for it.
topic. So then in 2013, I started my first YouTube channel, Super Star Wars Fan 67. It's still up, although by the time this episode goes up, the videos might be gone.
Yeah.
I'm going to privatize all of them. I just haven't done it yet.
Watch them while you can.
No, they'll be gone by the time this episode goes out. If they're not, you have till 101. But I started uploading there, and it was just kind of the same, like, hey, guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I just kind of did whatever, because I was 11, and I just kind of wanted to upload whatever.
Right.
I emulated the style of the YouTubers I liked, and I was just doing it for fun. And if people watched it, great. If people didn't watch it, great. I'm not, like, super concerned about it. The only rule I ever had was from my mom. She was like, you want to upload YouTube videos at 11? Sure, just don't show your face. Like, that was the only rule. Yeah. Which meant I also had to be really careful about reflections and stuff. There are a couple videos where if you go back, there's an unintentional face reveal because I didn't check the reflection on my phone or something, and it was really early.
You're like, oh no.
Oh my God.
God.
That's him.
Ah!
Listen, I think there was more hype around my face reveal than Dream, but that's a different conversation for another day. So I did Super Star Wars Fan 67 for a while, and then I moved on to Freaky Ninja, which was my Minecraft YouTube channel.
Oh.
Because everyone had a Minecraft YouTube channel.
No, if you
don't lie.
Are you really like a content maker if you didn't have a Minecraft YouTube channel?
Between 2014 and 2016, everyone had a Minecraft YouTube channel. Don't lie.
No,
you're lying to
you
yourself.
had one.
You're lying to us. You're lying to other people.
Yeah, you had one.
I think I had like 4 different survival series where I just started over.
Yeah.
Like, I got to a point where it was boring, and instead of keep going and like trying to do something new and fresh, I just start over.
You just do another survival series.
So it was like season 1, season 2. I remember there was one where my mom, this is the only time my mom was like, you should take down a video.
Oh my gosh.
Because at the end of this video, and I really shouldn't be playing this up as a joke.
Oh no.
But at the end of this video, I was like, you know what? I really hate everything about this world. So I'm going to kill myself. In Minecraft. In Minecraft. Not in real life. Suicide is bad.
No.
Which is like...
Not funny.
Not funny.
But that's what you said in the video.
That's what I said in the video.
But
I didn't say in Minecraft in the video.
Like you thought it, like trying to be funny?
Yeah, like I thought it was funny. But so then I went into the Nether and I jumped in lava. And then that was the end of the series. And I didn't say, hey, we're rebooting, doing season 2, season 3, whatever. So I watched this, so my mom watches this video and she's like, I think you should take this down or say something. And I was like,
hey, I'm still alive.
Oh, it'll be fine. So I opened season 3 of the next Let's Play by saying, hey guys, by the way, I'm not suicidal or anything. I just wanted to clear that up because my mom said I should clear it up. I'm not suicidal, by the way.
That's
those videos are private, so you can't find them. And I shouldn't have done it.
But like 11-year-old boys do whatever they want.
Yeah, here's the thing.
You
I was
just
like
say
13.
whatever you want.
I was like, it's whatever.
Right. Being 13 used to be so easy.
Man.
You just made Minecraft
Being
videos
13
all day.
now, you're...
There's so much
I don't
to
even
do
want to
with.
be 13 now. It is rough. So I did Freaky Ninja for a while. Did a lot of Minecraft stuff. Eventually, I started another YouTube channel. Wow. Which was the Lego Maniacs, which is... I would classify that right now as the most successful project I've ever had. But the podcast is getting really close to overcoming that.
Which is great.
The Lego Maniacs right now is sitting at like 13,800 subscribers. I haven't uploaded a video on there in a year. I don't know where the subscribers are coming from. My most viewed video is a music video. It's an Ninjago music video. It's 5 million views.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how that happened. I genuinely don't know how that happened.
You just like threw it together too.
I put it together and one day I got like 1,000 views and I was like, wow, that's a lot. And then one day I woke up and it was like, oh, that's 20, 30, 40, 100, 400, 500, a million?
Yeah.
And it just got there.
And it's still climbing.
But I started that channel in 2016. Yeah. And that was probably the most fun I've ever had with a YouTube channel.
Lame claim to fame.
Because it was just me talking about Legos, which I think is that's the longest thing aside from Star Wars is the thing that I've been into the longest.
Yeah.
So I also really love Ninjago. And I still do. So it was very like Lego. Let me talk about Legos.
Yeah.
I did some weird stuff where like I brought Minecraft over, and then we also like did gaming stuff, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And that channel has been renamed like 4 times, but now it's the Lego Maniacs, and it was the first time I'd ever had a channel that actually had like a community around it, and
Like
people
some
were
kind of
actively
success.
like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, when is the next video?" And I still have people comment now, "When's the next episode of Rise of Anarchy?" And I'm like, guys, which
It's over.
for those who don't know, Ninjago Rise of Anarchy is a
Critically
original
acclaimed.
stop motion that I made.
Critically acclaimed.
A lot of turmoil though. If you really want to know the full story, go listen to episode 4 of this podcast. I did a 2-hour-long episode where I talked about Rise of Anarchy and everything that happened with it. So after the
For
Lego
some
Maniacs,
reason.
for some reason, God only knows.
Uh,
After the Lego Maniacs, I started Nick with No K because that was when YouTube was coming in and clamping down
yeah.
on everyone with like, well, this is for kids or not for kids. And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't want to run a Lego channel anymore anyway. And I'm moving, so I want to have all my Legos. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I started Nick with No K to do more like sketch comedy or like the film
Right.
stuff that I was doing because I knew I was going to film school. I don't think I've touched that channel in years.
Is that when you started to copy me?
Yep.
Yeah. Because I had somewhat of a YouTube presence at this point.
Yeah.
And so,
And I was like,
I don't
oh, what
know.
if I did that?
what if I did that?
And I uploaded like the weirdest videos.
It was stuff like
me attempting the Konosuba dance.
I love that video so much.
I don't know why I uploaded that
I
video.
love that video
should
so
not
much.
have uploaded
There's
that
like a
video.
really good what's the one where you're just sneezing the whole time?
Oh, allergies suck.
Allergies suck.
Getting
And
canceled? That was a good
Getting
one.
cancelled was a good video.
Getting
it was
canceled
like,
over
imagine if
pouring milk first.
Smosh, original like 2010 Smosh, wasn't funny. And
Yeah,
that's
pretty much.
essentially what
That is accurate.
his videos were when you were 14 at this point.
Nah, Nick with No K, I was 17.
I'm so
that
sorry.
was senior year of high
I'm
school.
so sorry.
I was 17 years old. I was going into film school.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That makes
You've
it
come
even worse.
so far. You've come so far.
And while I was on Nick with No K, I started the Two Nerds podcast.
Yep.
Which kind of gets us up to here. But that's
The
the end
Two
of my
Nerds
story.
podcast.
See, I did it in like
Wow.
15 minutes.
Hooray! We're gonna go back to some Q&A.
Oh, are we? I thought we were going to go right into yours and then do Q&A. Unless you think
We
yours
have
was too
enough
long.
questions.
All right.
So I'm gonna go through pretty much all the YouTube questions.
Burn through all those YouTube questions?
All the YouTube questions.
From one person, by the way. Thank you so much.
Here we are on our YouTube comment
MVP.
section from Bearded Mana.
Yep.
Mana. With some, honestly, my favorite questions are from this YouTube comment section. This one person, we appreciate you very dearly. From Bearded Mana on YouTube, other than recording of the episode, how many hours a week go into working on the podcast?
15?
I don't know if we've ever calculated.
It's a hard thing to calculate.
Because it depends on the week.
It truly does. It also depends on, like, the week and the episode. Because, like, some weeks, like, recently we've been really busy. So a lot more time has gone into it than normal. But
Yeah.
normally I'd say somewhere between 10 and 15. If I had to put a number on it. But even then, that seems like a lot.
That feels like a lot. I think it's
But
closer
maybe
to
it's
10.
not. If I spend 2 hours a day, every day, editing shorts,
There's also, like...
then that's...
Like, he's always editing shorts. I'm always editing YouTube videos or getting Instagram stuff scheduled or like I don't know. What's our longest record meeting for podcast?
like 5 hours.
I thought it was 6.
It might be. I don't know.
I think we had like
We've had some long
we had a
meetings.
6-hour meeting one time.
Meaning we got on Discord and meant to talk about podcast stuff, and then halfway through we decided to play Fortnite instead.
No, that's usually what happens. But yeah, we schedule times to plan podcast stuff.
And I mean, to be fair, we do talk about it while we're playing Fortnite.
Right. That's usually what
Gotta have
we're
my
talking
Subway
about.
Surfers in the
No,
background,
of
otherwise
course.
I can't focus.
At least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, we'll hop on a Discord call for at least 2 hours. So
Yeah, I think that's fair.
about 10 to 15, depending on the week. Some weeks it's 25. Like
As we get closer, like we have a lot of content planned for the end of the year.
right,
So it'll be calm till like October,
right.
and then it's gonna get really busy again.
But then we do things like content retreat where we have like, okay, these are our 3 big projects that we're gonna get done,
Yep.
and we just take essentially 2 full days of just recording.
And then we take a break
videos.
after that.
Then we take a break after that. So it's hard because it depends on the week, but generally that's about the answer. You also said, when are we getting a Discord community server?
Knock out those Patreon numbers. Get the $5 Patreon tier. If we hit like, I don't know, 25 patrons, 20, I'll think 30. About it.
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
That's another thing that goes back to wearing a lot of hats, is it's just another thing to manage.
Do I want to, like, I don't have anyone I could put in that server who I trust to be a mod. That's the problem.
No, that's the problem.
But I don't want to thrust being a mod onto them.
Right. That's the thing. Is while I would love that, it's also just another hat to wear. I don't want to mod it myself. It's another hat to wear. And so while I love the idea and I'm very open to it, I don't have an exact date because neither of us could be mods.
Right.
And that kind of defeats the purpose of we're not on it.
We're looking into ways to kind of get the same effect.
Right.
With
less time commitment.
Right. Like doing something like a subreddit.
Like a subreddit.
Where you can submit memes or clips or whatever. Because that's a lot easier to manage than an actual Discord.
Because on a Discord, you got to be like on there.
Right. You got to know what people are saying.
And I've like joined some podcast Discords before, and they usually die within like a month.
Exactly.
And so we don't want to do that. So essentially, hopefully someday.
I'd also hate to lock a Discord server behind like $5 Patreon tier.
Right. That would suck.
That makes it even harder to manage because then if they're not in the tier, you'd be like, oh, well.
Like, well, sucks to suck.
Right.
Bam. So I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to skip some of these just for time.
No. Read them all.
Fine. What's the quick rundown for every video game system you've owned and the favorite game for each?
All right. I got this.
Quick rundown.
That I've owned. Nintendo 3DS, Ocarina of Time 3D. Actually, that's a lie. Mario and Luigi Dream.
Be honest.
I've owned the 3DS XL and another 3DS XL and the Switch. Favorite game, Tears of the Kingdom.
Based.
I have a Wii U. Favorite game, I don't know. I haven't played any. I haven't like played enough Wii U games to actually have a favorite. But that's.
What about your Xbox?
Oh, true. I forgot I had an Xbox.
You have an Xbox, yeah.
I thought I went immediately to Nintendo. Xbox favorite game, Battlefront 2.
Based. Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 2.
Interesting. A Wii. We had a Wii Sports Resort, or Mario Galaxy 2. Xbox 360, Lego Harry Potter Years 1 through 4. Xbox One, the original Star Wars Battlefront. Not the original, but like the 2015 Star Wars Battlefront. PC, Minecraft. Switch. What's my favorite Switch game?
I don't know. Fortnite?
Favorite Switch game?
Nintendo Switch Sports?
No. You see, the thing is, I just play a lot of games. So it's either going to be it's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
True!
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
That is such a good game.
Wholeheartedly Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I completely forgot about that game till right now. That was a good question.
That was quick. We just
need to be faster. What are your earliest video game memories you can remember?
New Super Mario Bros. Wii, 2008.
Wow, he got a date. He said November 4th.
My uncle had a Wii U, which he wasn't my uncle at the point. He was still dating my aunt. And he
so
had
my aunt's boyfriend has
this
Wii U.
My aunt's boyfriend has this Wii, right? And I loved playing New Super Mario Bros. Wii. That's partially why I'm so excited for the new one.
The Wonder.
Is because it's like, oh, we finally get like a new 2D Mario game. That's the game. That's the game that is the reason why I'm still in a Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like, that was my
that was the
Nintendo
that was
game.
the start. Earliest memory, I think it would be I was probably about 4 years old, maybe 5.
This man came out of the womb and said, all right,
I came out of the womb and said, hey guys, what up? I played a lot of Webkins, but my earliest I think is Mario Kart Wii. I was about 5 years old and I couldn't steer for myself, so I'd sit in my dad's lap and essentially have my hands on the wheel while he drove so that I felt like I was doing stuff.
That is such peak parenting, like playing video games with your kids.
And so when I got old enough to actually play by myself, he would just like win
Yeah.
The entire, like, every
all those
race.
boomers who are like, video games are lame. I mean, you should grow up. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm still gonna play Mario Kart with my kids.
No,
though.
literally, like, I'm
gonna hand my kids Minecraft and say, all right, go crazy.
The only reason we got into video games was to play together. So
right, like,
check in, mate.
just hand my kids Nintendo games. Be like, don't play anything else.
Are you guys into comics at all?
No, I'll let you go first.
No, not really. I've tried a couple, and the only, like, when people say comics, I think like Marvel, DC, like superhero comics. I own every Calvin and Hobbes book, if that counts. That's a comic.
Then I would say that counts.
Then yes, but the only comic I'm into is Calvin and Hobbes, and I'm diehard Calvin and Hobbes.
For me, my uncle who had the Wii was very into comics as well. He was the nerdy uncle. That's why I liked him so much.
It's gonna be both of us. We're both gonna be the nerdy uncles.
He was in all the nerdy stuff that I was into, the Marvel,
Right.
Star Wars, like a
Right.
whole everything.
I have an uncle like that.
And it was the one person that I could talk to and be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we're in all the same stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, knowing me, my kids will be like jocks and the hate nerds.
Of course,
stuff,
they're
but
gonna be like into football, and you're gonna
they'll be like 6'2".
oh, no.
I'm like, ugh. Where'd
Oh,
the 6'2"
great.
jeans come from? I don't know. My wife's 5'5".
Since we're being honest, one of my biggest fears is my kids getting into things that I don't understand.
Me too. I'm like, please don't let my kid. I'm like,
Please,
I'm out here praying, please don't let them be jocks. Please, I can't.
Please, I just don't get it. I
can't do football.
I can't do it. I don't get it. I can't be a soccer dad.
I'm gonna end up having the soccer mom van.
Either way.
Well, no, it was like,
but you want to pull up at GameStop with the
pick
soccer
your
mom.
way, pick your path,
Oh.
Western man, dad truck or the Honda
Soccer mom
Odyssey.
van. Honda Odyssey supremacy.
I was like, I'm a Honda Odyssey dad.
No, for real.
I'll be totally cool with it. I'll pull
Yeah.
up to GameStop. Be like, all right, kids,
the launch of
let's go buy the Nintendo Switch 3.
No, literally. Gosh.
Anyway,
So
comics. No. My uncle was really into comics. I tried to get into it. It was just too much for me trying to collect all the different volumes and like all the
Yeah.
numbers. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I have a ton of manga at home.
Yeah.
It's so much easier. I don't know if it counts as comics. I personally think it does. Just because it's the same
Yeah,
like,
that makes
premise
sense. Same style.
of like chapter and you have your volumes and it's a lot easier to collect because everything makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's not like Batman where it's like, where should I start with Batman? Well, you should start with Batman 1990 and numbers.
Right.
Whereas like, where should I start with My Hero Academia? Volume 1.
Right.
Here you
Which is why Marvel's in trouble, because their movies are becoming like their comics, where it's like, where do I start? Like, what's the entry point?
Exactly.
So anyway, last question here.
Is that all the
From-
YouTube ones?
No, there's one more YouTube one.
I say finish
Just
the YouTube
finish
ones.
the YouTube ones. Okay. This is
Is this the big one?
the big one.
Oh boy.
This is by far my favorite question of the day, wholeheartedly. And I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Same guy, Bearded Mana on YouTube, said, in your journey of creating content thus far, has it negatively or otherwise positively affected you at all about being that you're so open about your religion?
Okay. So, we're both Christian. Whoa.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Whoa.
I know, right?
Who's gonna tell me that?
For me, I would say it has. I don't feel like it's ever negatively impacted me. Like I've never gotten any comments that are like, "Oh, you're Christian," like,
Right.
"Oh, I hate your channel." Like I've obviously gotten negative comments, but it's never
Directly.
it's never
at
stemmed
that.
from anything religiously.
Right.
But I think that's also because it was never a big thing for me.
Right.
Like I was of the mindset of I don't like when YouTubers preach to me about things I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to be that person
Yeah.
of like, well, if I don't like that, I don't know, this Hindu YouTuber is like preaching to me. Like
Right.
I don't like that.
Right.
So nothing against Hinduism, but
Right.
I don't like that they do that. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to not say it, but it never came up in the conversation. I applied that very, like they say, as adults, you don't talk about religion, politics, or money.
Right.
And I tried to like apply that to all of my
All of your
YouTube projects
content.
because
Right.
like that's not what you're here to talk about.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
not the point of coming to watch Lego
Not
videos
to
or
be
coming to this
like-
podcast. We're not here to lecture you.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about movies. And if, religion ends up coming up like we do now, I'll talk about it.
Right.
But it's not going to be my out of the gate.
Right.
But I am very open about it on Twitter.
Right.
But that's different because that's my personal, and it's not. It's different when you're representing a brand like this, but when it's your personal, I think that's different.
It's different because there is an upkeep of professionalism,
right?
Where you say, "Oh, the Nerdiest podcast as a brand, sure, it's a Christian brand,
right?
Quote, but that doesn't mean that every episode is like, well, so Jesus said
exactly.
Like, I think that there's a misconception in especially Christian creators of like, how can I make content for God's glory if it's not about God directly, which is a misconception. And I think that's why so much Christian content gets thrown under the rug of like, this is garbage, because filmmakers aren't making Christian movies, pastors are making Christians movies, and they're not reaching a quality standard.
Right.
That's why movies like Jesus Revolution and The Sound of Freedom do so well, because they're that like, oh, this is the values, but the quality is there.
Exactly.
And I've always thought, as a Christian, if you truly believe in God, the most creative being ever, like he created the earth, he created me, I'm made in God's image. He created me, he created you, he created like the earth, the mountains. Like when I'm in the mountains, I'm in awe because God made that. The sunsets, like if you truly believe in the most creative being ever, why is that not reflecting in your work? How can I create for the creator and then make something low effort as possible?
Right.
And say, this is my best effort, God, here you go. Not to say that I have to work for God's love, because I don't, but it's more of, I'm not going for personal glory. And I would say, this is just kind of my roundabout answer to the question, is I've only seen positive because I know why I'm creating.
Right.
I'm creating for the creator.
Absolutely.
And so I've always like, because I've never really, and I don't say that to sound snooty or up there of like, I'm not trying to be on a high horse of like, I'm not doing this for me. This is for God. This is not for me. It's always more like, if I make a video and put it on YouTube and it gets 20 views, okay.
Like that's
I don't
fine.
care. That's not the point.
Do I want the video to do good? Yes.
Right, of course.
But
like if I post this 100th episode that we spent hours on and 20 people listen to it, okay, that's not the point.
right.
I'm not creating for man's approval. And that goes back to like learning how to just be yourself in content and in videos. Is like, I'm not going for the approval of man. And so that's kind of my just roundabout thing. That doesn't mean every episode I need to be like, well, Jesus, this, that. I don't need to give. But like in the description of all of my YouTube videos, I've always put 1 Corinthians 10:31, which is whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. So that's more of my mindset, is like, this is why I'm doing this.
Right.
And I feel like because I've always had that, it's sustained me more than anything else ever could. And so there's not a reason to create outside of that for me, because I know everything else is going to leave me empty.
Right. Yeah.
So
Man, that was really well said.
not to,
It's a lot better than my answer.
well, not to get preachy on you, but
Even though we said that's not us.
I'm not here to preach, but I also I think about how there have been we have a large Brazilian audience, and I never would have expected that. And so like when starting, I never expected that. And so 2 very independent, different cases, different people sent DMs and said, hey, I love your show, and I use the show to learn English.
That was huge.
If that's not a ministry, I don't know what is.
That was like shocking to me.
That,
I never thought
right.
that something I made would be helping someone learn another language.
Right. And so that's the other thing, is like, you don't have to be a Christian to listen to the show. You don't.
That was never the intention.
That's never
by
the intention. It's just that, like, I'm just hanging out, and so I'm doing what I feel God has called me to do, which is create. And so I'm creating what I'm passionate about, and God is using that to teach people English and maybe teach people about God.
Right.
And if that's not what you're here for, okay. I'm not here to, I'm not a pastor. I'm not like, this isn't like a Christian podcast to teach you Christian lifestyle. We're just trying to talk about movies.
Exactly. And if that happens to come up in the conversation,
then we'll bring it up, because
you're not going to not talk about it.
That's like what I've based my life upon.
And I think that the downfall of Disney episode was the pivoting switch.
That was the pivoting switch.
Because there were times where we wanted to bring that up. Like we would say before we start recording, oh, well, this is how I feel about it as a Christian. And then we get on the episode and kind of say the same thing, but just leave out the as a Christian part. And I feel like the downfall of Disney was the switching point for that. Yeah. Where we said, you know what? No, we're going to leave it all in. Yeah. Because we need to be authentic and genuine. Yeah. Especially being in the media world now, which is a very broken, fallen world. Very hard industry. I would love to be a light in that world. I would love to do that. Someone's got to do it. But I'm not going to say, you can't guest on my podcast because you're not a Christian. Right. Like, you don't do this. Like, no. I'm total, like, I love everyone that's, like, I'm just, essentially, to wrap it up, like, no, it's never negatively affect. I've only seen positive effect. And I'm very glad that stuff like this gets to come up because we have a platform. Right. And so, like, that platform is weird. It's so weird. It's so weird to have a platform. We can consider ourselves influencers. Right. Now. And so it's like we have almost 3,000 Spotify followers. Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot. And so it's like, I'm going to use that to positive influence the best I can. I'm not going to shove it down your throat because that's not the point. I'm just like, I'm trying to hold myself to the standard that God has called me to and hopefully reflect that in everything I make. Yeah. So very well wonderful question. After all that talking, now it's your turn to keep talking. I really, really loved that question. Thank you very much. I wish I knew how to say your name. Bearded Mana. Sorry, I'm so sorry if I'm saying it wrong because we appreciate all of your questions. Very, very good. So, my content origin story. Oh boy. Ready? 10 minutes or less. Go. 10 minutes or less. So, I started off, and I think what originally got me into media, shows, movies, whatever, was I was just really into the show iCarly, which I was too young to be watching. I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7. Way too young. We cut our cable after that, and I watched nothing but Arthur. But it was like my brain chemistry was developing at just the right point that I watched iCarly, and I said, I want to do that. And so our first project that I can link back to is the Web Show of Fun, which was essentially just us doing the things we saw on iCarly. It was me and my older sister Sam on like our dad's old video camera. He would record us like on Saturdays. That's what we did. It was be like, Dad, let's go record the Web Show of Fun. And he'd set it up and press record, and we would like dance around and do stupid stuff. And we still have all those videos, and we can watch them at some point. Yeah. Some of them are like so wacky and wild and just kids being kids. And at one point I actually broke the camera because I was being so crazy. I was like, just like, wah! Like 7-year-old me was. Right. And I kicked the table that the camera was on, and it just fell. And like the microphone didn't work after that and all this stuff. So that's the first project I can trace back to. And after that, I just kind of didn't stop. So like 6 years old, I think, was my first video I ever edited. And it was just videos that I stole off of the Lego website. Yeah, sounds right. It was just pictures that I stole off the Lego website and put them into Windows Live Movie Maker with text to build a story around it. And so I made like a movie trailer, and the movie was called Attack, but I misspelled the word attack. And so it was like a tick or something like that. Still something you frequently do. No, I frequently still misspell very basic words. Was it last night you spelled weren't? Weren't. I couldn't spell your name. WERNT. I couldn't spell your name. I give you that's a little more valid. But a lot of people misspell my name. Essentially, I never learned how to type. After I was always visual, so I never needed text. So
I did that. I got really into Windows Live Movie Maker, and we would record. Still, me and Sam would record these videos on our like iPod that we shared, and so we shared this stupid little phone that we recorded all these videos on, and they never made sense. It was always like we did a video, and it was just stuff that I copied off of YouTube because I was watching Rubik's Cube YouTubers to let you know how big of a loser I was.
Rubik's Cubers.
I was watching Rubik's Cubers, and so to let you know how big of a loser I was very deep into the Rubik's Cube YouTube scene. And so I just kind of copied whatever I saw on the Rubik's Cube website, because we had like a family, like a blocker, and I wasn't allowed to watch real YouTube. I just watched whatever the Rubik's Cube official website would post from like the embedded YouTube. And then what I would do is, I was so sneaky, is back in the day, and it still does this actually, at the end of a YouTube video, there's like the grid of recommended videos, and I would watch other videos through the embedded link by clicking on the
Dude, that's not sneaky, that's big brain.
No, that was big brain. And so that's how I got into Minecraft. The Rubik's Cube YouTubers that I really liked started playing Minecraft because it was like booming. That's when Minecraft YouTube was like in its peak. And so I like through the embedded videos found Minecraft. And of course all my friends were playing. And I said, Dad, I'm going to save up all my money and buy this game. I'm going to buy Minecraft. And he was like, okay. And then he bought it. So he played with us, me and Sam. We all played with him. So we started on our iPod and did stupid sketch comedy, and it was like I would be like peeling the stickers off the Rubik's Cube to cheat, and then she would bust in with like a pink wig and be like, I'm from the Association of Cheaters or something. And just essentially like we didn't even script anything. We just kind of pressed record, and it was improv before improv.
It's the best way to do it.
No, actually, if you're doing a film, don't script anything. Just press record. So we did that, and then when we got into Minecraft Let's Play was all I wanted to do. My dream, I was like maybe 10 years old at this point. I wanted to be the coolest Minecraft YouTuber ever alive. And I still kind of do.
No. There's a joke there, but I'm not. No.
Yeah. I still kind of want to be the greatest Minecraft YouTuber.
Let's do it.
Then let's do it, guys.
Someone's got to do it. Listen.
$5 tier.
Like, we got to just start taking over the space.
And just be like Nerdiest Gaming.
We got like the Lego Maniacs. Just bring it all under the one LLC. Have all these different channels.
I can go to Rubik's Cube YouTubing. You can go back to Legos.
There we go.
Gaming. We can be the next Smosh, essentially.
Yeah. We're going to take over the space.
Yeah, we're going to do it. So I did Minecraft Let's Play, which led to one of the biggest projects I ever did, which was called The Jack and Harrison Show, which I don't think I've ever talked about.
You have.
I have?
We talked about it on the least favorite episode 12.
Yeah, so there's like, I haven't talked about this in like 3 years. So the Jack and Harrison Show was the Minecraft Let's Play series that I had with one of our cousins. And I don't talk about it anymore because we like aren't on speaking terms anymore. And it was a super traumatic thing.
Wait,
that was
is he your cousin? I thought you were friends.
So here's the thing. We're not actually blood related.
Oh.
But growing up, my mom told me that we were cousins.
Okay.
And then when I was like 13, I was like, oh my gosh, they're not actually blood related.
I thought about that. I was like, wait a minute. I feel like I wouldn't have known that.
This whole traumatic thing I'm not going to get into, but like it's very, very sad. But at the time, we just played Minecraft all day. That's what we did. And so we recorded, and I was into editing, and I just got better and better at editing from Minecraft Let's Plays. Because I started putting memes in, I started doing audio editing, and I was like, this is lit. I was still editing on Windows Live Movie Maker at this point. This was 2016. 15.
Still on Movie Maker?
2015, my correction. And I was still on Windows Live Movie Maker, editing these Minecraft videos. And I kid you not, we did around 75 episodes of our Minecraft Let's Play. I kid you not. And I have them on DVD. We printed DVD cases. We did limited edition calendars. We did mugs. We did 3 full seasons of the show.
All right.
And
Nerdiest Podcast DVDs win.
ASAP.
Season 5 on DVD.
Yeah, we did mugs, and the 3rd season we got into a narrative, and our whole narrative was a llama was being elected as president. And
better than what we got now.
So, and so we essentially did cinematic short films in Minecraft at the beginning of every episode. And then our Let's Play would tie into the story. So it was all scripted at this point, which I didn't realize it at that
Actually
point.
kind of fire.
It's kind of fire, isn't it? Like, I didn't realize it at the time, but we were just making short films. Like, it was so complicated. And I tried out some other crappy editors, ended up on iMovie for a long time. iMovie is goated, though. I freaking love iMovie. So I did that for a long time, and then it just kind of fizzled out, and then, like, a lot of stuff happened. This isn't the appropriate time to talk about. A lot of stuff, not there anymore. It's very sad. But it was around this time, 2016 or so, when I went back to sketch comedy, because I had been doing gaming for a long time, and I was like, I just really miss the good old days, because we started doing like sketch comedy like in Minecraft, but I was like, I miss the good old days of doing this in real life. And so that's when I started the Glass Studios YouTube channel, the one that I still have today. And essentially I just haven't stopped. Like, that's still where I'm at. I did a couple other projects, the Coffee Time podcast, that's got off the ground for a while. That was another thing where like people were in and out, kind of flaky. We're trying to reboot and get it better, but that's been a long project. But the Glass Studios is essentially still where I'm at now. I've been on that channel for about 5 years. Just posted like my first like professional air quote short film there. So
that's wild.
That's where I'm at. That's kind of my I could go for like 2 full hours on the content origin story.
I could too.
And that's why we did, and it was a really awful episode.
It was an awful episode, but it would work for like a live stream.
Right. No, it would.
It just didn't work like as a podcast.
Right.
That doesn't
so
make
I could
sense.
dig so deep into like the content lore. There's so much there. I could talk about the Jack and Harrison Show live action episodes and how like legit they were. I could talk about the Fiji experience. I could talk about the Jack and Harrison Show Christmas special that never got filmed. There's so much lore right here.
I didn't know any of this, by the way.
Yeah, no, there's so much to dig into that I just won't right now. But that's what's up. I have been talking for so long.
You want to do some more questions?
I need you to do some questions.
Or do you want me to go over
I'm
the
kidding.
podcast lore?
I think we need more questions.
All right, more questions it is. I'm trying to think where we stopped. Okay, we
stopped
did
on
all
the
the
YouTube
YouTube
ones.
questions.
We had another Twitter one, and then it was all Instagram.
Oh, that's
from
true.
there
Where'd
on
you put
out.
the Twitter one?
It's right under the YouTube ones.
It is?
I need
there
you
it
to
is.
talk. I'm getting winded.
Yeah.
Listen, I was preaching earlier, and
and then he went right into
I went right
more
into
talking.
went into my testimony, and I was just like,
Okay. So this one is from Blake Olson on Twitter. Another one of my mutuals.
Thank you, Blake.
What is, in your guys' opinion, the best animated Western show? Voice acting, art style, story, quality of animation, the works. So this excludes all anime.
The only Western animation.
Unless actually, wait.
Sheriff Callie's Wild West.
When you say Western, I mean, we're the West. Oh wait, never mind.
Oh.
That was a stupid answer. I was gonna say we're the West.
We're
and then
the
I was
West.
like, oh wait. That's what it means.
I was gonna say either Cowboy Bebop or Sheriff Callie's Wild West, or Mo and the Big Exit. Those are the only animated westerns I can think of.
No.
No,
Western, as in like
us. Hemisphere. Got it. Got
like
it.
America is the West.
let me think.
Not you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop. You couldn't even put it on there. This is what I'm working with. This man didn't know that Benjamin Franklin was on the $100 bill.
Listen, who knows who's on the freaking
Most
$100
people!
Do you think that I carry $100 bills?
No, but you should still know.
Oh my god!
Freaking homeschooler.
My
Okay.
homeschooled education is failing me.
Western show
Ooh.
from us in the U.S.
Dang, that's hard.
I'm gonna throw it to 2. I'm gonna shout out 2. I'll
Okay.
say League of Legends Arcane.
I figured that was gonna come
really
up.
good.
I haven't seen it.
Animation is solid. The plot is, it's so good.
Yeah.
Still out here waiting for season 2. We'll get it eventually.
Well,
But another one
probably delayed now.
would be, well, no, because animators aren't on strike.
Animators aren't on strike.
No.
They should be.
So, yeah, they should be. Everyone should be on strike.
Anyway,
Except
except us.
us, because we're not union.
Anyway,
I'd also say one of the only American shows I've ever given a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's another one I have not seen.
Is a real... Oh, we're going to watch it one day.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really solid show that if you have not seen, you should watch. It's not... It aired on Nickelodeon. It is not a kid's show.
Right.
It falls in the very... Oh, my God! How did I forget?
That's what I was going to say. How
Star
are you
Wars
not
and
talking
Clone
about the Clone Wars?
Ah!
How are you not talking about the Clone Wars?
I don't know how I missed that. I feel like such an idiot.
It's usually my thing to
I'm a
forget
traitor.
the Clone Wars exists.
I'm a traitor. How
That's
can
my
I forget
bit.
the Clone Wars?
You can't steal my bit of thinking the Clone Wars doesn't exist.
Also, VeggieTales.
I mean, come on.
Like, man, there's a lot of good ones.
Bruh.
I'll say VeggieTales and the Clone Wars and Avatar. Those are my three.
The
Clone Wars is just a masterclass in
VeggieTales.
cinematic storytelling.
Duh. VeggieTales. Would it be a hot take to say Gravity Falls?
Yes, because you haven't finished it.
Listen, guys.
Stop suggesting
Listen.
shows you haven't finished.
Listen, guys. Here's the thing about me.
He doesn't finish
I don't
shows.
like to finish shows.
Do you have a commitment issue?
Yeah, probably.
Nah, that sounds
TV.
about
I think do I have commitment issues or do I have ADHD? Listen.
Both.
What's that Pedro Pascal clip where he's like, "My son does not have ADHD. He just likes to jump." Yeah, sorry. I don't really have an answer other than VeggieTales, and apparently I can't say Gravity Falls.
This man doesn't watch Western animation.
I don't
That's
watch
the problem.
Western
I tried to get him to watch
animation.
the Clone Wars like 3 times.
It was boring.
And he hasn't. You forget, we're in the same room. I can actually throw stuff at you. It's not like Discord where I have to be
yeah,
like,
I'm not
oh,
safe
roll my
anymore.
eyes.
I'm not
Now I can
safe
just
from
be
my
like-
toxic workplace environment.
Next question is from...
On to our Instagram question.
Instagram.
Let's go.
It is... I don't even know how to say this name. I hate it when people have names that I can't say. Jolt Izard Jolt Izard
Sure.
So I'm going to say it.
Sure.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
First, why is Gamora?
Oh.
B, what
banger.
is the answer?
Banger.
Why is Gamora dead? The answer, she was thrown off a cliff.
Why is Gamora money? The answer is because Zoe Saldana has a contract.
True.
Booyah.
Man.
I think he meant to say, why is Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy 3? That's
I know,
more
I think
of
it's like the...
No, that's the meme.
The meme.
Right, it's
Why
the
is
meme.
Gamora?
No, why is Gamora? Now, I get that. But also, why is she in Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
I don't know.
Money and contracts.
Money,
Anywho.
absolutely. This one is from Jeopardy Robert on Instagram.
Thanks, Jeps.
Favorite brand of toothbrush?
What's the Target brand? R&R?
Target brand is
Up and Up?
Up and Up.
Up and Up. I usually get the Up and Up 2-packs of the electric toothbrushes, and it serves me real well.
Hold on, I gotta find it. I think it's Oral-B.
Do you use
I
some
think.
like super like unique toothbrush?
No.
Like I feel like you would.
No.
Your
I buy
mom
the-
would be like,
I buy
oh,
like the 4-pack from Target, but not the off.
but not the
brand.
Up and Up.
No. I'm
It's
too
the
rich.
R. Isn't the Up and Up the R?
I'm
though?
too rich to buy. It's not an R. It's an arrow.
What?
Look, it's an arrow. Like it's going up and up. It's in the title. Up and up.
I always thought it was a backwards R.
No. My
Ugh.
goodness. Yeah, it's Oral-B. They sell like a
Okay.
6-pack for $10.
Booyah.
That's my favorite brand of toothbrush. All right. This one is from Zoe Ott. This is kind of a big one.
Zoe Ott is our fearless graphic designer.
True. She's done
And
90% of the graphics you see on this
She
channel.
deserves a special shout out because she's such an icon and does such incredibly good work for us. And Zoe, we salute you and we thank you for your dedicated service to the podcast.
Thank you. We will definitely be coming at you for more stuff in the future.
Woohoo.
Her question is, how have Jackson's thoughts on anime changed since the first episode? So
Dang.
we're going to assume first episode of Anime Adventure, which was Demon Slayer. So from Demon Slayer to now. What's the last one we did? Spy Family?
Love is War.
Love is War. Thank
Duh.
you.
I think I can't even really pinpoint my thoughts on anime before the series because I always had friends that were into anime. I just didn't really care. it was more of like, oh, they can like that. Like, I'm okay with them liking it. It just wasn't my thing.
Right.
And so I think I didn't realize how much good anime was out there until the series. Because I watched Demon Slayer, that was the first anime I watched, other than like Sonic X, which
Star Wars
count.
Visions.
Star Wars Vision, yeah, but like
it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. Demon Slayer was my first like air quote real anime, and I thought I was one of those people that was like, anime is just like girls shaking their boobs all over, like every episode, like that. And I
mean, it is that.
I mean,
to an extent.
there are a lot of those shows, and that's why I think anime gets a bad rap, because there are so many that are just so sexualized that it's not good to watch. That's
right.
not good stuff. But I also I think watching, you've shown me so many good animes that I've learned like, hey, this is a reality of the world. Like this is that, but it's also naive to think that that's not in American media too. So, sorry to drop a truth bomb, Oppenheimer fans, but it's true.
Everyone's like, we in America, we do not do fan service like the anime,
we don't
like
do
the
that.
Japanese. And I'm like, sir, there's like
sir?
a 3-minute sex scene in Oppenheimer. What,
No, literally.
What are you talking
I'm
about?
like, what are you, huh? So, I didn't realize how much good anime was out there, and I'm glad that we're watching it because I feel more cultured and in on the conversation.
Yeah.
I also feel like I've met so many more casual anime fans the last year that have like left a better taste in my mouth than the like, you don't like My Hero Academia?
You don't think Attack on Titan is the greatest thing ever created?
No, that's the thing, is I know people that think Attack on Titan is peak media and they refuse to watch anything else, and it rubbed me the wrong way.
Guys,
they're like, you don't think
Attack
on Titan is the best anime ever made and the best show ever made? Why on earth would you watch Wes Anderson movies when you could just watch Attack on Titan? And I'm like, you are an idiot. I'm sorry. You're an idiot.
Guys, I'm going to say it right now. Attack on Titan is overhyped.
Whoa.
And overrated.
Whoa.
Calm down.
Who's going to say it?
We'll find out more on our Attack on Titan episode.
Good question, Zoe. Thank you.
The next one is from, me.
Oh, this is from Nick Barrett. Okay.
Episode 200 special when?
Shut up. I can't.
Rip the one down, make it a 2?
Yeah. No.
Film it back to back.
Let's
We've had this episode unlocked for 3 years.
We're actually pre-recording episode 200 today so that we can just throw it in there.
Yep.
So we don't have to buy more party stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You want to keep going? More questions?
We have a lot, so we can go for it.
I mean, I don't think we have as many as you think.
Okay, then we'll move on.
Okay.
So
we're doing lore now? More lore? We have like 2 more sections of lore. How do you want to address
sections?
Because we can do our friendship origin or we can do the podcast origin. All right. Podcast lore.
Podcast lore.
How did we get here?
How did I get here?
And you might say, podcast lore, what's the lore? Okay. This is my 4th attempt at a podcast.
4th attempt at a podcast.
4.
Lord have mercy.
A brief rundown of the other 3. And then we'll kind of talk about this one a little bit.
Yeah.
So the first one I did was on the Lego Maniacs. I called it the TLM podcast. Now, if you want to know what the T in TLM stands for, it stands for the. So it was the Lego Maniacs podcast. That was before I really knew what podcasting was.
Yeah.
And it was really just me sitting down in front of a microphone and talking about something for 15 minutes and calling it a day. It was not...
If that's not a podcast, I don't know what it is.
It is, but it's not. Like, you know what I mean. So
yeah.
I did that for 10 episodes. And then I stopped doing it because I was like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Then I started NinjaCast, which has 0 episodes. None. Zilch. Nada. And I don't remember.
Can I ask, how did you start a podcast with 0 episodes?
I had the Anchor page set up. And I recorded the first episode, but I never edited it, and it never went out.
What was it about?
Captain Marvel.
Are you dead? No. Really? Like the
Well,
movie?
that was the first episode.
But like the podcast itself, what was the concept?
This.
Like movies?
It was the Nerdiest podcast, but before
that was
I
the
had
idea.
like the funding, air quote,
based
to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure NinjaCast is either the anchor account for this podcast or the manga section, which I'll talk about the manga section in a minute. But there was that, and then I did the Brick Maniacs podcast on the Lego Maniacs. There's 2 podcasts on there.
What year was this at this point?
Brick Maniacs was 2017.
Okay.
I think.
Because I didn't know what a podcast was
Nope,
until
it was
I was
18,
like
my bad.
15 years old.
I didn't either. I was 16.
So
this is when it was very more like, oh, we're going to talk about a topic for an hour, and it's a back and forth with people. I did that for 6 episodes, and then it kind of faded out.
on this microphone.
On that microphone. Sure did.
Yep.
And then started the Two Nerds podcast, which...
The Two Nerds podcast.
Two Nerds podcast.
Which is a...
Started on this microphone, which is why this microphone is here, because this microphone recorded the first episode of this podcast.
It's a piece of podcast history.
Honestly, I'll probably keep it forever.
Goes in a museum.
We got to get a studio and put it in a glass case. Put a little label on the bottom.
Yes.
Founding my... You know how people like
Bulletproof.
frame their first dollar?
Yeah. It's
With
like,
a business?
It's like the
That's
first
this.
mic.
It's like first mic. Baby's first mic.
Once we make $1, we can frame our
We can
first
put the dollar right here above it. So I started Two Nerds podcast with Colin with no I. And
Legend.
for us to talk about Ruby. The show. RWBY.
What a bad choice.
We're going to come back to that.
What a bad choice.
It wasn't solely for us to talk about Ruby, but that was like, oh, we're going to get on every week.
That was like the hot anime.
And review. It is not the hot anime. Not even close. It just had a very passionate
fan base
of a certain caliber,
okay.
if you will. So that was our intention. And then we did 2 episodes, and then we both got really busy. And then
as you do.
Eventually I brought you on for episode 8, which wasn't even supposed to happen.
Right.
You weren't even supposed to be on that episode.
I was the replacement guest.
But because I had 2 other guests who were supposed to be on call out, I called this man and I said, you want to talk about Star Wars, Marvel, Disney, and more? And he said, yeah, sure. And we went on for 2 hours in that episode, and we had like 2 hours before and after.
Uh-huh.
Because we hadn't talked in forever.
We hadn't talked in, which we'll get into, but we hadn't talked in at least a year. And then,
so it was just catching up.
And then,
talking
but
shop.
that's when I was on my YouTube grind, and so I thought, oh, going on a podcast, what a great business move.
Right.
I was never thinking like.
You didn't think I had like 5 Spotify followers?
Right. No, literally. But I also had like 75 subscribers, so
Yeah.
I was like,
that was a
literally
big
just
move, you know?
something. That's the thing. That's the thing about inviting your friends on, is it was like on those early days, you take who you can get.
Yeah.
But you got to set the expectation.
And then you started episode 8, and then episode 12, I was at the point where I was like, I feel like I'm being limited, because my whole like little quirk, if you will, what
Right.
makes me different as the Two Nerds podcast was the title was always Two Nerds Talk About This. One Nerd Talks About This. It was however many people were on the podcast talk about this.
2 nerds talk about Disney. 2 nerds talk about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that naming convention got really limiting, especially in terms of like YouTube search.
Yep.
Like
It's not coming up in the
SEO
shorts. No.
friendly at all.
No.
So I was like, what should I change it to? And I'll be honest, the Nerdiest podcast was a placeholder. It was not even supposed to be the name.
Yeah.
It was a placeholder because there's the Nerdist podcast, and I was like, oh, well, like, what do we do? We're just a nerdy podcast. I mean, we might be like the Nerdiest podcast. And I was like,
Yeah, I'll just throw that on there.
that doesn't sound terrible. Let me like shop
Yeah.
up a logo or something, and I sent it to you, and you were like, oh, that looks good. And I was like,
Yeah. Because I was so uninvested at this point. Like, I was on for like 2 episodes, and I was like, looks great.
Nerdiest podcast it is. All right.
You know,
and now we're here.
Back when we had the audacity to do our own graphics.
And we I'm gonna I'll be putting the logos on screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually let me do it this way. So here, right here, it's a Two Nerds podcast logo. The original.
Right.
Well no, it's like down here.
Oh, sorry.
Like in front of the microphone.
Okay.
This logo thing I made in like 5 minutes on Fonto on my phone.
Ew.
Terrible.
Terrible.
So then we moved to the Nerdiest podcast. Wabam.
Shaboom.
This is the first Nerdiest podcast logo that I made on Canva
Yep.
in about 15 minutes.
So much care and effort.
This design got us through, like, I don't know, 20 episodes.
Yeah.
And then we got to this one, which is Jackson made this one.
Yeah, just to update it a little bit.
Just to update it, give a little
Is that
gradient in the
gradient
background.
version?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we kept that one till the end of 2021.
Yeah. We kept it for a long time.
And then in 2022, we switched to this one, which is the one we have now, but it's just dark mode now.
Yeah.
But it's the same one, and that's the one Zoe did. Oh, wait.
Our Twitter one.
We got to talk about the one. Okay.
So
when we were switching over.
When we were talking about switching logos,
I'm going to pull it up so
we thought, well, who do we know that does graphic design? Because Nick went to high school with Zoe, right?
No, we were just friends.
No, you're just friends?
We were just homeschool friends.
Okay. So they like knew each other in high school. And before he went to her, we were like, well, let's just get commissions on Twitter. Which is hot. That's my biggest podcast regret, is thinking that we could just send out a tweet.
There we go.
And that we would get quality graphic designers.
Yeah.
Just so here's the thing. If you send out a tweet that says, hey, I'm looking for logo design.
No. You put the word commission, art, or logo. Like there's certain keywords.
DMs
That's
are
the
flooded.
most responses I've ever got. I had like 80 responses. Mind you, I had like 10 followers.
Right. So this
I had
is
like
a big
80
deal.
responses. My DMs were full. I vetted a ton of people, and we found this one person.
Looks pretty promising.
Because we were looking for like a more anime, cartoony style.
Right.
And that was my opening question, was like I had references from Pinterest. I was like, hey, can you do this style? Can you get close to this? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. What did we pay? Like $100 down payment? Which was red flag number one.
Which was red flag number one.
By
You
the
should
way.
not need to down payment.
No.
You shouldn't down payment your graphic designers. Your graphic designers should just use watermarks until you pay. Like that's how this works. We've
never had a down payment with Zoe.
We were so young, dumb, and broke.
She also doesn't watermark any of our stuff when she
No,
sends it
just
to us because
because
she knows we're
she
not going to
knows.
use it.
She
Or if we
knows.
do, we're still going to pay her.
Right. Even when she tries to be like, I'm so sorry, this was 2 days late. Like this one's on the house. We're like,
no, this is not on the house.
Let me pay for this. Ugh.
See, that's what we keep. Like, you got to have that good client
This
business relationship.
is called PR. All right.
No, that's public. Well,
Public relations.
close enough. Anyway.
Yeah, close enough. Internal PR.
So we put the down payment. Should have been red flag number one.
Yeah. This
And
is
we
so
get
dumb.
like some mock-ups, and I'm like, oh, that looks good. I like it.
Yeah.
And then we get like a finalized version.
It's terrifying.
Brace yourselves. This is terrifying. This right
I'm gonna
here.
put this on. I'm gonna put it on the Instagram too.
It's so scary.
I'm putting it on the Instagram too.
Here, do you need a refresher?
I need a refresher.
It's very similar.
Listen.
It's the same vibe as the one we have now for those listening in the audio.
Why do we both look so feminine?
I look
My
white.
face is terrifying.
I got whitewashed.
You got whitewashed. It looks like we're judges on America's Got Talent.
It's the same
shelves
vibe
weren't
as we have now, but it was
finalized.
bad.
The font is trash. Pretty sure all of the art on the Twitter page was stolen
Probably.
because didn't the page get like shut down like a month later?
I think it also didn't help. This person was very clearly tracing over the reference images of us that I sent instead of doing their own.
Yeah, their own
work.
original work.
So we saw that. We were like,
Let's not do that.
no.
Didn't we lose like $50?
We did.
We were just like keep that.
We're like, you know what? Just
Because you
I want
refunded.
half of it back.
It was like the PayPal
Yep.
or something. You like got like some kind of security thing where it's like you got like half of it. We're like, just keep the $50. Like we just don't want to do this anymore.
Now we talked to Zoe, and now we have a great logo that we love.
Great logo. She designed our new merch designs. Yeah, she designed
not
our new
jump
merch
scare.
design. She's so talented, and she's such an underappreciated part of the team. And so big shout out to Zoe.
Here's the thing: is she doesn't even do commissions anymore.
Right? No, she's just
Like she solely does them because I ask.
no, literally.
And I'm like, hey, can you do this? We'll pay you. She's like, oh yeah, sure.
Okay, sure.
And I'm like, oh cool.
Which is insane because like if I could do graphic design that good, I would be rolling in the money.
See, I think she does it for work though. Like
Really?
it's wrapped into her job.
Okay,
So
that
that's
makes
kind of
sense.
what she does professionally.
That
she
makes
just
sense.
doesn't do like, hey,
Commissions.
Send me
That makes
commissions on
sense.
Instagram.
That makes sense. So,
she did everything for Joystick Drift too.
Yeah.
If you go look at that
Iconic.
channel and all of the logos and stuff, she did all of
Iconic.
that. It's
Too
great.
Good. Too good. So
And
do
now
we
we're
do-
here. That's the end of the podcast lore.
So do we do more questions and then friendship origin? How
Yeah.
many questions do we have left?
I think we could finish up
Finish out the questions and then go to the
because
the
then we
other
can end
one.
on the guests
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of like final thoughts.
So where did we last end? Episode 200 special win.
I
Okay.
left on the one like right
Yep.
underneath that.
All right. So
We're gonna get to a good question.
these are some good questions. So, sorry, my brain shut down. We are hitting the 2-hour mark.
Woo!
Ooh, Nelly, my brain shut down. So, from Colin Harris on Instagram, Colin is a friend and guest of the show, such a legend. Colin says, how do you think the podcast has helped you grow as you grow along with it?
I think it's helped me just become more honest about my opinions and realize that I actually don't care what people think.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Everyone knows I like Cars 2. That's like not a controversial, like, I don't want to say opinion. It is a controversial opinion, but
You were crucified for
I'll
that
be
opinion.
honest and say that it started out as a meme to be a contrarian because I wanted to be contradictory to Megan, who's also a guest, who her favorite movie is Cars. So I thought, wouldn't it be funny if my favorite Cars movie was Cars 2, the one that she doesn't like?
Hates.
And now, over time, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually my favorite.
Right.
Like,
It's, guys, I don't think it's a joke anymore.
guys, it's not a joke anymore. And it's just helped me be like, I don't need to like be like, oh, I love Cars 2. Ha, funny, fingers crossed, just kidding. I'm like, no, I like Cars 2.
Right.
I'll say it. I'll die on this hill. I'm not like, and the same goes for like, I didn't like No Way Home.
Okay.
I'll die on that hill. Like, whatever. It's fine.
I think that's the best part about talking about movies and shows. Like, in the sense of, like, you not liking No Way Home, who freaking cares? Like, the YouTube Shorts comments on this channel are brutal. Dude. I'm going to say that.
These comments are
I'm
so
going to go
mean.
ahead and say that I get cyberbullied on the regular.
People make fun of my voice. There's one Demon
my
Slayer one
gosh.
I posted, and people are like, are you sure you're not white? Because your voice is really high-pitched.
Right. And
I'm
it's like,
or they're like,
dude.
your voice is too high-pitched for a black man. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not black.
I said,
like,
first
let's
of all,
address that.
And I said,
You're
first
getting
of all,
it wrong.
if you want to come after my voice, you need to. And so,
How about you shut up?
and
Stop
so
bullying me.
I had to grow through that too. I had to grow through the comments don't matter, because that's always on, like, that's like basic Disney Channel PSA.
Don't let the haters get to
Don't let
you.
the haters get to you. But it was like an actual, like, when I was doing YouTube, there was 1 or 2 videos where, like, it just hit the wrong audience and people would just fight in the comments. And our first, like, super big Instagram reel was about Encanto. And, like, licensed therapists started fighting about the mental health aspects of Encanto, to the point where I turned comments off.
No comments. Take
no
it away.
comment. And so, like, I disabled the comments because I was like, this isn't worth it. I don't, that's like,
I like the engagement, but also stop.
I don't want my the platform to be a place for cyberbullying, essentially. And that's the thing, is we're talking about movies and shows. It does not matter. Who freaking cares?
Yeah.
And it's so, I had to get past that of, like, people will talk like it's life and death, and it's not.
It's really not.
I had to grow to learn that it's not life and death. And those people, and this is something that's just been prevalent in my real life too, is the things people say about you aren't true. Like, you have to take an honest look at yourself and say, okay, that person said this, is that true? Do I think that's true? And go to your trusted people and say, is that true? And a lot of these questions, like, we did a YouTube short. It was just a clip from an episode where I was essentially saying this, was I was like, why can't we just talk about movies casually?
Oh my gosh.
This was maybe the dumbest comment I've ever seen in my life. And it was like, it was just a clip of me saying, like, why can't we just respect movie opinions, because they don't matter?
Movie
It's
opinions, by the way.
Movie opinions.
Not
TV
every
shows.
opinion.
Not every opinion.
Movie
My
opinions.
opinion on The Office, who cares? Who gives a rat's patootie? Like, literally. So, and then I get this long, like, I'm at work all
Video,
day.
video essay script
level.
comment.
It's just this comment that's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Respecting people's opinions equals pandering to them. I'm not going to talk to them like a child, this and that. Which, like, here's the thing. I'll be completely honest. People have said things like that to my face. Never about podcast stuff, just about in life. And so that comment triggered me so hard because I'm like, I know people that talk like this, and they are the most insufferable people I've known in my life.
Here's the problem is the comment, like, I totally understand
Right.
what they were saying of, like, no, we shouldn't. Like, there are some opinions of, like, when you see somebody's shirt and they're like, does this look good on me? And you're like, no. I'm going to be honest with you.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
No, it
like,
doesn't.
you should. There are some
Right. You shouldn't lie.
situations. And the problem was the comment came off very... like, oh, I don't want to pander to the gays.
Right.
Like, oh, you can't tell that you don't want to pander to them and tell them everything's okay.
Right.
Like, but that's not what we were talking
That's
about.
not it at all.
That's
not what I'm
totally
saying.
different conversation that we're not having.
And so most of the comments are like, oh, they're just completely taking things out of context and completely like, I'm saying, where did you get that? Where did you
get that out of this video?
that out of this video? And my favorite is like talking about the Dial of Destiny when we were like, oh, this movie's not that great. And they're like, it's nostalgic for people of the older generation. Just like give the movie a break.
But that same person will get on Twitter and say, oh, I don't like how Star Wars relied on the nostalgia of the older characters. So killed them off.
Here's my thing. Yes, it's a movie built on nostalgia for people that grew up with Indiana Jones, and they're going to like that movie. I didn't grow up with Indiana Jones, so I'm not going to like it. But do you expect me to have a movie podcast where the point of the podcast is to be critical of movies and be like, oh, it's nostalgia bait, but
so don't
it's nostalgic
judge
for
it.
those people, so it's okay. No, I'm going to give my opinion because it's my freaking podcast. I'm going to say whatever I want. And so
Frick, man, he's
that
going
was
off.
That was, I think, my biggest growth was just, in a similar vein, just learning to just say what I felt and being okay with the repercussions if people disagreed, because I can't people please my whole life. Like this, my life is not
the people pleasing has to end.
My life is not a performance for these people.
Exactly.
And so I also feel like I was afraid of people before the podcast. Do you remember in the early podcast days?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do. You didn't want to talk to people.
I was so terrified.
He never wanted to message anyone on Instagram. He was scared of talking to people on the internet. I have been doing this forever. Like, I used to play Xbox with people I didn't know. I would talk to people with the Lego Maniacs. Like, I'd talk to people I didn't know. This is not a
That
new
was
thing
not
for
in
me.
my, like, I grew up in such, like, an internet safety household that, like, talking to people on the internet was off the table.
Yeah.
Like, I learned how to get on Minecraft servers with open chat and everything when I was, like, 10, and that's the most trouble I've ever been in my life. And it terrified me. And so, which I'm glad my parents protected me from that, because I see kids now that don't have that, and they're so screwed. And really horrible things can come from that. But when I was like, oh, I'm ready to run a business, I wasn't ready to run a business because I wasn't ready to talk to people.
Right.
And so now I feel like it's helped me just break out of that shell of not everyone on the internet is going to try to kill you. And
True.
so, like, you need internet safety and cautiousness, but you can't just...
But not everyone is evil.
Not everyone is evil. And so we have amazing podcast friends that I've never met in real life. And, like, that's okay. And, like, I'm going to be safe and smart. I'm not going to be like, this is my IP address and my name is Walter Hudwell White. I live at, like, and so there's internet safety. There's a line. And so essentially I learned how to run an online business, which is incredible. Highly recommend.
Another really long-winded question.
Really good question. I'm sorry, my answers, I'm on fire.
All right. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 questions left.
I think we could do it.
We can speed run some of
Yeah,
these.
some of these are shorter.
All right. We have 2 from the Lego Maniacs.
That's you.
Shut up.
That's you.
Shut up. Nobody would have known. What's your favorite Lego set of all time?
Oh, does it have to be a Lego set I've owned?
No. I feel like it should.
So my favorite Lego set I've ever owned is Santa's Visit, which is the Christmas house. And this favorite Lego set that I always wanted and never got was the 4-headed dragon from Ninjago. And I think that's your biggest flex on me to this day is that you have 2. Or the Samurai X suit.
I didn't have that one.
Bruh. That one was
For
lit.
me, favorite Lego set of all time. Temple of Air Jitsu.
You asked the question.
Ninja. No, I know. I had to think about it though. There's a lot of Lego sets out there. Because the Destiny's Bounty from the Ninjago movie is really good. But I think it's going to be Temple of Air Jitsu. I love that set so much. It's so cool.
I respect that.
And then the other one is, what's your first Lego set you remember getting?
The Kai's Dojo. I got it for Christmas one year. And it kind of started my Lego obsession because we had all of my dad's old Legos that he gave us at one point when we were old enough. And then I started buying my own, and that was the first one that I got for Christmas that I was like, oh, this is dope.
I think mine was, that I remember getting, was the 2008 Clone Wars Y-Wing bomber. I'll put a picture on screen. I don't remember what year specifically it's from, but it came with Anakin and Ahsoka, and I lost the Anakin hairpiece in the yard. I took it outside to like fly it around, and Anakin's hair fell off, and I never found it.
It probably got destroyed by some lawnmower. Like
different hair forever.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but all right. So, it's another one from me. What makes an epic Q&A? All the questions we've been answering.
The questions that we've gotten from this amazing audience. Thanks, guys.
The Nerdiest podcast is what's the PBS Kids?
It's like, the Nerdiest podcast is made possible by viewers like you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Oh.
Here's
the good one.
Is this spicy? Hold on. Is this Logan's question? I refuse to answer this question.
All right. No. He asked a question.
Fine.
The people asked a question. We have to answer. From Logan, guest and friend of the show. Mm-hmm. Excellent PA. Mm-hmm. What was your sexual awakening?
Episode 3 of the Nerdiest podcast.
Listen, I know everyone said I have a silky smooth voice that's built for podcasting, but I did not think that was going to be your answer. Well, he recovers. Mine was Let It Go. Frozen. Elsa's hot, man. Like, I don't know.
Ironically.
I don't know what you want me to tell you.
She's ironic. Ironic. Anywho.
Not that I would ever act on anything. It's a fictional character.
What's next?
What do you have an actual answer?
Mom from Martha Speaks.
No.
No, I don't have an actual answer.
Okay, good. That's probably a good thing. This is from Lindsay Happy.
Yay.
What movies do you relate to the most?
I think the reason I like Ratatouille so much is because I kind of relate to the creative philosophy, and I really, because movies you relate to, I mean, except Barbie, because Ken is literally me.
Literally can't relate.
But
never been a Barbie girl before.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. TBH.
Life is plastic.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But Ratatouille was that's my favorite movie of all time. And I really loved the creative philosophy of like anyone can do it, but only the fearless can be great.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's my favorite movie of like, oh, that was relatable to me as a kid. Like when I wanted to do videos, it was like, oh, anyone can do it, but it's not going to be easy.
Right.
Just because anyone can do something doesn't mean it's easy. And I think that is like so hits the nail on the head for like creative philosophy that I need in my life.
I think for me, what movie I relate to the most? That's kind of hard. I would say everyone's going to think it's Weathering with You, but I'm going to say Bo Burnham's Inside.
Dude, that's so true.
Just because like I love the creative philosophy of you can only like one person can make this really great thing.
Right.
But it also really helped me come to terms with a lot of things I was going through.
Yeah.
At that time, and it was a lot of the emotions. I don't want to say they were the same as his,
right?
But they were very similar. Like Goodbye is a song that I have like used as an emotional crux for 3 different things in my life.
Right.
And it's just one of those, like, I listen to the soundtrack all the time because the soundtrack helps you what's the word I'm looking for? Process, but also validate like the feelings you have that like nobody really wants to validate because they're like, oh, those are bad feelings. So that's my answer. It's Bo Burnham's
Great.
Inside.
Good answer.
I love it.
I forgot about that, man.
How's the rising water crisis? It's from me.
It's pretty bad. It's really, really bad.
Yeah.
I've heard it
I
has.
wish the
gotten any
government
better.
would do something about it.
So, little context. This is a joke we've wanted to explain for a long time. So, when we did a video years ago on YouTube, early days of the podcast, called the YouTube presidential debate.
We got to do it again next year.
Honestly, kind of a banger video.
Kind of a banger.
To
video.
this day, I think that video is hilarious.
It is.
But we put on Instagram and was like, what are some funny non-political debate topics that we could talk about? And it was all stuff like cheese and like stupid stuff. But one of them was the rising water crisis, which felt like a very real thing.
Yeah.
Like something about climate change. Like, I don't know. And it felt really real, but it wasn't like funny enough to be a joke. But I did so much research and could not find what the rising water crisis was. And so that was the joke for the longest time was like, how's the rising water crisis?
Yeah.
We're like, I don't know. I don't know. Can't tell if it's real or not.
Maybe one day it'll be real and everyone will think we caused it. We'll be like, Mr. Beast, I flooded an entire town for the rising water crisis. Last one to drown wins $1 million.
He's really running out of content.
He's like,
all right, here we go again.
Next from IR.worship. Jackson Glass next album/EP title?
Listen, this is a good question because I never remember to bring up my music career. Go listen to my music on Jackson Glass, GLAS, wherever you listen to music. But also, our last EP was titled Freshman Year Part 1. Do you really think we're not going to make Freshman Year Part 2?
Confirmation?
Confirmation. Next album title is Freshman Year Part 2.
I'm going to save this next one for last because it's
it's a biggie.
Yeah.
Okay.
From J Pros Jr.
Yep.
What's your favorite Super Mario Bros. Level from the whole series?
Bruh. Oh, bruh.
For me, World 1-1 of New Super Mario Bros. Wii.
Dude, so nostalgic.
So nostalgic.
TBH, World 1-4 from New Super Mario World Bros. Wii, the one with the Yoshis.
Yeah.
That one's fire. But also, personally, I have to say, in Super Mario World for the NES, I think I played, I believe it's called the Donut Plains, over and over again. And we had it on the Wii because you could get NES games for the Wii back in the day. And I'm pretty sure it's called Donut Plains. I may be mistaken, but I played that level like over and over again. It's the level that like on the mountain. I think it's before the bridge, but it has gophers. I think it's Donut Plains, but I'm not entirely sure. That's the one. That's my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah.
Another question from Sam
Glass.
What's changed the most since episode 1 and episode 100? I think we talked about this last night. It was production quality.
Yeah, just the quality, not just like in gear, but like in our mentally.
Yeah.
Like we did not know how to talk. And that was because like and we'll get into this in a minute, we didn't develop as friends until after. And so I think we learned how to talk to each other in the most efficient way possible.
Absolutely.
And so, which is really funny to say, but I think that's the biggest key difference because even if your audio quality is bad,
you still got good conversational skills.
Anyone can drop $500 on a podcast setup. Exactly. But if you don't have the hosts that work together, it doesn't work. So
precisely. I think that's very well put.
Yeah.
Next one. Next to the last two questions are from Gavin Kopko.
Oh, yeah.
Friend of the show, guest, great PA. 5-year plan for the podcast. It's a big question. I'm gonna outline my 5-year plan for the podcast.
Spring by spring.
Stop it. For me, 5-year plan of the podcast is 5 years. If we keep going at the pace we're going, we'll be at like
250 episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
5-year plan for me, I think at some point is for us to be in the same place doing this
Right. For
every other
episode.
week.
Yeah.
Also, I could definitely see the podcast becoming a full-time job type thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
wholeheartedly.
making content for the podcast, even if it's not just podcasting,
Right.
of like, hey, we're gonna do a playthrough of the new Mario game or the new Zelda
Right.
game, or like we're gonna live stream
Like the brand.
right, like the
becomes-
brand itself becomes more of the product.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to like fund that and have a studio and
Mm-hmm.
be able to leave all of our stuff set up so
And
we
then
can
just
just
come in
sit
and
down and
record.
record and have other
And then
people
have
who
a
do other
video
stuff.
switcher that's there, and like that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my 5-year plan, and I think that's doable.
I think it's doable. I can relate. I'll be graduated college by then. That'll be like 2028. From now, yeah, 2028. And
I might be married by then. Actually, we might both be married.
I will
by then.
definitely be married.
I know
by
you
then.
will.
But I think overall, I think the podcast, I'm in a similar boat of like, I'd love to just essentially have a brand, and honestly, like a podcast umbrella would not be the worst thing in the world, where it's like, oh, we can, like, as a brand, we can bring on like starting podcasts and essentially be what we wish we had,
Mhm.
which is someone to be like, not like a mentor,
But like the
kind of a
connections.
mentor of like, hey, this is like, we want you to come under our umbrella and we want to help you with this and we want to like figure that out.
We can get your production quality up there.
Right. And own a
But you're
studio
under our-
space to
yeah.
rent out and stuff like that. I think that'd be even just as a side hustle, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the plan. Other than Ring by Spring, that's the plan.
I would also love under that umbrella to bring in other stuff, like bring back the Lego Maniacs.
Right.
And like have kind of like under the brand values, have
Yeah.
other things that would then support
Right.
the brand as a
Right.
whole.
Yeah. That's kind of the dream. I don't know. It feels realistic. 'Cause
Feels real. We're not like, we want to be living in LA with a full studio and a
right,
full staff. Like,
Right.
even if we had one person
Right.
who we paid full time
Right.
or even part time.
We're like, let's just have an assistant. Like, just something to take it, like, just a couple of the hats off of us.
Right.
Like, just something. A
Problem
team.
is, I have friends who can do that. They just don't live here. That's
No,
That's
right.
the problem. They would
No,
do
right.
it for free in their spare time, but they don't live here.
I also get really frustrated because I want to do it.
Right.
Like, I love
Move!
it. I love it. And I want to
Move!
No, that's the thing. I love doing all the administrative stuff, so I want to do it. And I know I just get mad like, oh, they didn't do it right. But it's like,
You gotta let go.
you got to let go.
You gotta let it
That's
go.
the thing. That's the other thing I'm currently learning is to like not be a control freak. Just
That's
let
what I had to do.
let other people do stuff.
Like, you edit all the long form videos
Uh-huh.
now, and I edit all the shorts. We had to
Mhm.
switch because I don't
Yeah.
like editing long form. He doesn't like editing shorts. But I have also never let anyone edit anything of mine long form wise.
Mhm.
So it was such like a mental thing to get over of like, I gotta let it go. But I also
Yeah.
trust Jackson. I mean, we
Right.
have very similar
We have very similar
senses
editing
of humor
styles.
and editing
Yeah.
styles, and it.
That's the other thing that works so well is we're on the same wavelength of the brand identity. There's like sometimes there's like conversations of like where do we stand on this, like as a company. But like 9 times out of 10, it's like we can pretty much just assume what the other person thinks about something.
Right.
So
Ooh, add it to the 5-year
works.
plan because this is doable and I'll probably do it in
Yeah.
a year anyway. Make it an official business.
booyah.
Make it an LLC. Make it an official and get the podcast copyrighted. Just realized I don't have any of it copyrighted.
What?
I mean, I do,
I mean, it is.
but like,
Yes, you do.
oh no, you're right. I do. That's
Yeah,
how
you
copyright
do.
law works. Never mind. I do.
Yeah, no, you do.
Okay. Last question. This was more for me.
Yeah.
Why you started the podcast? So I could talk about the nerdy things that I never felt like I could talk about with my actual friends. That sounds really depressing and sad, but like my friends I had in high school were great, and if any of them are watching, I love you guys. We had a great time
Thanks,
in high
Zoe.
school, and if you guys ever want to like do our 10-year senior year reunion, I'm so down.
The
I'm
amoeba.
not ready for 2030 though. I started the podcast because there was stuff I wanted to talk about in a longer sense than let me make a 10-minute YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really felt like a podcast was the way to go. Now, if you had told me 4 years ago that we'd be hitting episode 100 and this would be the longest I've ever committed to one podcast project or even just a project in general, I'd say, nah, you tripping. I'm going to quit after 12 episodes.
This is the longest I've ever committed to one episode.
Yeah, I think we're going to set a record for longest episode and then never top it again.
Never top it again.
This will be the episode you need the full 2 weeks to listen to it before the next one.
We're pulling a genre geeks.
But yeah, that's my...
yeah.
I
think I joined because I had the nerd in me.
He got that dog inside.
He got that dog in him. I had the nerd in me, but it never came out before the podcast. Or it came out rarely. And I feel like the podcast, because I joined like episode 8, which we'll get to in a second, but I don't feel like I would be as interested in a lot of the stuff as I am because of the podcast.
Right.
And so it's helped me like almost find one of like my favorite things ever, which is just like nerdy Star Wars, like Marvel, like that kind of crap, and just like really nerding out on it. And I think it's very healthy practice for me because it helps me not dump that stuff on my friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not have all this pent up nerd that I need to be like, no, this movie in the frame of this genre. Like I can talk about it here and then have a normal conversation somewhere else.
Like you're going to just let it all out.
There are sometimes,
get it off your chest.
I kid you not, there's sometimes I'm talking to movies with people. There's only very specific people. But I'm like, I don't want to talk about this. I'm saving this for podcast. I kid you not.
I feel that.
I've done that before. I'm like, I'm done talking about this. I gotta save this for a podcast.
I got home from Barbie, and my mom was like, "I can't wait to watch a podcast episode about it." Can't wait to see you guys'
so
review
valid.
Of Barbie. And
we're
I'm
gonna
like,
go at it.
All right,
we're gonna go at it. All right.
That was our last question.
That was our last question. Thank you for this epic Q&A session.
Epic Q&A. We need to do more Q&A. Hey,
Q&A's
guys,
lit.
just start dropping Q&A.
Right. Just send questions. Who
and
cares?
we'll answer them on episode.
No, totally.
Like, just do it.
So one of the questions earlier was our friendship origin story.
I hate Jackson, actually.
Fun fact:
we're not.
We
friends.
have been at odds ends with each other for at least 2 years.
I've been trying to secretly murder him for the last 2 years.
Right, and so he has some YouTube videos planned up that'll probably kill me.
Well,
what? Who said that? Anyway, and we actually have a segment planned of our friendship origin story because friendship always wins.
He's trying to do the Dragon Ball thing from an anime he's never seen.
I've seen. No, I haven't seen.
Yeah, don't lie.
Anyway,
can't start the new saga off with a lie.
So the story starts off in a little town I like to call Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Ooh, he said it.
He said it.
He said it.
We don't live there anymore.
We don't live there anymore. Don't come looking for us. We are not there.
Don't think I'm there because I ain't.
I mean, I may be there from time to time. You might catch me there, but I'm not going to tell you all that.
So I moved there in 2016. How long had you been there when I moved there?
Oh, bro, I've been there since 2012.
Okay, so he was there in 2012.
I lived there for 8 years.
Yeah. So I moved there in 2016. I moved from Seattle because we had been working. My dad had a job there. I was like 14. And so we had a job there. But like my whole family was in the South. And so we were like, all right, we got to go back. So we moved to Chattanooga, which I'd never been before. And I moved.
Great city, by the way.
Great city.
Very beautiful.
Recommend. Unless you have allergies, and then you'll probably die.
Me.
So I moved to Chattanooga in November 2016, and we met in 2017 at Trail Life.
You said that. So we met at Trail Life, okay?
Which, if you didn't think we were losers before,
if you didn't think we were real homeschool Christian kids,
we went to the Christian homeschool equivalent of Boy Scouts. Like
that's what it was. That's how it got started.
That's how it got started. Was every Tuesday night we would go.
We were in on the ground floor. By the way,
in on the ground floor, and we like pretended that we were gonna go camping. We really just
pretended like we liked doing Boy Scout stuff, and then.
No, we just wanted to play dodgeball.
I wanted to play dodgeball and hit people in the face.
No,
man.
literally. We like pretended that we liked outdoor stuff.
I did not.
But like it was one of those like, sons and their dads would go and like hang out.
I think boys should have those kind of experiences
absolutely.
because like I got hit in the head with a basketball like 3 times.
Dude, absolutely.
Those are important experiences for boys to go through. Right? You just like get absolutely
Just get destroyed.
rocked
Yeah.
by a basketball.
Yeah.
And then get up, brush it off, and be like, all right,
And
what's
it's like,
next?
yeah, I'm good. So that's good. Yeah, that was great. I love Trail Life. Great memories.
Yep.
Good times. Noodle salad. So good times noodle salad.
What
That's
is that?
Jack Nicholson.
Okay,
Anyway.
moving on.
So lots of times, some of my favorite Trail Life memories. I have a clip of one time I recorded a game of dodgeball because I was a loser.
Oh, I remember that.
And there's a video of you like running so fast from dodgeballs, and it's so fun. We really just played dodgeball.
Yeah, pretty
essentially.
much. It was dodgeball.
But the thing is, we met there, but we weren't even friends.
We were mutual friends.
We were like
We had
acquaintances.
a friend who I was friends with him, he was friends with him, and we were friends because I would hang out with the friend and he would hang out with them at the same time.
So it was like, which is so funny now looking back, because
Like,
I
man,
never
without
would've
that
thought,
guy, this podcast never would have happened.
I never would have thought it would be you. Like, there's.
Man, why you gotta phrase it like that? I didn't think it was gonna be you.
I didn't mean to say that so like derogatory, but it was like you weren't like on my radar necessarily.
Thanks.
It was like, oh, that's Nick. He comes every once in a while, because you had been in there for so long that you were starting to.
I was trying to
out.
phase out because I just didn't want to do it. My granddad was very
Yeah.
insistent that we kept doing it,
Yeah,
and then we
So-
stopped doing it.
So we stopped, and then I moved in 2019 again for work again. So we only lived there a couple of
I
years.
just realized
and
you've
then
only met one of my girlfriends in person.
Dang. Oh my god!
Out of the two, and I don't even want to consider that in person because like
because I never even spoke to her.
we were just there. You
I just
spoke
saw her
to
from
me,
across
and
the
she was
room.
next to me,
Oh my gosh, you're right.
and I was like, "Oh, this is my girlfriend." Insert name here.
Because we went to like these homeschool dances that were so weird. We were losers. We were such losers.
Whoa!
Sorry.
Whoa!
I was a
Do
loser.
not say we were losers. We're cooler than the public school kids who were doing
mean,
drugs in the bathroom.
No, you're right. Like
The closest thing to drugs we were doing was like, oh my gosh, they put more goldfish out.
we're like the goldfish. We're like woo, extreme cheddar.
There are
We
probably
were
kids doing
crazy.
drugs in the bathroom.
I got crunk at those dances. Like my shirt would be a different color from the sweat.
It was all the white people music too.
No, yeah, it was like
I don't say that to be like, oh, that's racist. No, it's
No,
true.
it's
like
like-
all the stereotypical. If you go to a white wedding, you hear all these songs.
yeah. And so there was like the fast like wobble, cha-cha slide, like
Songs that
low-
you've aptly named songs that get white people.
songs
turned.
that white people turn. But then they'd be like Perfect would come on and all the couples would slow dance.
So-
and
so-
like
Quick tangent.
yeah.
Freshman year, or no, it was sophomore year. I went to one of those dances. It was the fall one.
Yeah.
And I was crushing on this girl real bad. But while I was there, like I
Oh my
went there,
gosh.
she was not there.
Yeah.
Fun fact: this dance is actually where I met Colin.
Dang.
But while I was there, a slow song came on, and not one, but two on a separate occasion for two separate slow songs. Two girls walked up and asked if I would dance with them.
Whoa.
It's the only time in my life this has ever happened to me. And I never got a phone number, and I never followed up on it because I was crushing on this one girl real hard. The only time a girl has ever done that, and I didn't follow up, and I'm so mad.
Do you live in regret?
No.
Do you ever wonder what they're up to?
No. I'm not like, oh, I
Dang.
turned down my future wife.
Yeah. If this was
No,
a Hallmark
it was sophomore year of high school.
if this was a Hallmark movie,
It would
You-
come full circle,
you
and that
come
would
full
be my
circle and
future
you
wife.
would be your wife. So yeah, I moved in 2019, and then you messaged me
Thanksgiving Day,
November.
2019.
Thanksgiving Day 2019.
You
want
to come on my podcast and talk about content?
content? So because this is when I was on my YouTube grind, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do YouTube. It's gonna be great. And you were just watching me on YouTube because we were subscribed to each other.
Yep.
Because we weren't like BFFs, but we like knew.
It's like the equivalent of
Of
following
each other.
somebody on Facebook.
Right. No, literally. We were just like Instagram friends and YouTube friends. And so like you were like Thanksgiving Day, like, hey, I'm doing this podcast and I'm like, I see you're doing content. Like, do you want to come talk about this? And I was like, sure, why not?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Why not? When did that podcast actually get recorded?
The content one or the one you were actually on
The
first?
one I was actually on first.
June 2020. So 7 months later,
Yeah. We actually recorded.
we actually sat down and recorded. We didn't do the content one until like
months later.
September.
Yeah. Well, because we sat down originally to do about YouTube content and then ended up just talking about Star Wars.
Yep.
and Marvel, and that was the first episode I was on. Was episode 8, which was recorded in June 2020 and released late
July 31st.
July 31st, 2020.
It's just turned 3 years old.
And so this was like right when COVID was getting kind of big, which I'm not gonna harp on COVID too bad because no one
getting kind of big. It was June.
I mean, it was right.
It was
June
already
2020.
big. It was getting worse.
Yeah, June 2020. It was getting bad, and I'm not gonna harp on this too long because no one wants to talk about this ever.
Nobody wants to talk.
No
about
one
it
wants to hear about it. But essentially, October 2020, we were like on and off. Like we'd send each other Instagram reels of like camera rigs, and
we'd
like,
still get on and like do the podcast every week,
right?
Because at this point, you were on almost every single episode, except for like, oh, I want to talk about anime with Colin, or Megan and I are going to talk about Hamilton.
Right.
Like, aside from those one-offs,
like I was the guy.
You were the guy.
Yeah, you were just like, oh, because I was always down.
Right, like you were always down. Like, oh, you want to do a podcast? Oh, sure.
Like, sure, why not? And we had fun. And it was like, at one point, my mom asked me, she was like, are you getting paid for this? And I was like, no.
And I wasn't getting paid for this.
I was like, you think we're getting paid? Wait, you guys are getting paid? Like, what is
We are now. Go to patreon.com/the
Nerdiest Podcast.
Or nerdiestpodcast.com. Check out our merch.
So, yeah, we were just kind of like casual, like we were podcast friends. We never talked about anything serious. It was never like we never had like deep, long discussions. It was always like, yeah, let's come talk about TV shows. And then October 2020 was when COVID was really, really bad. And my dad had it so bad. And we were like legitimately not sure if he was going to live. Like super traumatic. The entire month we couldn't leave. We were in quarantine all of October, and we had a schedule, and it was you'd get up at like 8. I would get up at 8.
I miss getting up at 8.
Yeah, same. So I would get up at 8, and then I would do schoolwork, because I was like a junior in high school at this point.
Oh my gosh, you were.
Yeah, I wasn't even a senior yet. So I was a junior in high school, and I was doing homework, and then I would get to would do lunch, and then I'd work on a personal project until 2. Was it 2 or 3?
2:30.
So it was 2:30. That's what it was. So at 2:30 we would hop on Minecraft
FaceTime.
Bedrock Edition.
Minecraft on an Xbox.
And so we would, and we to this day I remember 2:30 to like 6:30 was just Minecraft time. Sometimes after dinner we'd hop back on if there was nothing else going on. But
or we'd get on and like talk podcast stuff.
Right. And so that was like really our time because so much was happening. Like COVID was rampant. I didn't want to like talk about any of this. And like my dad was so sick, all this. I just wanted to play Minecraft. Like, let's just forget about everything and play Minecraft. And that was so good. And after that was like kind of how we grew closer. And then after that, like we just kind of didn't stop. Mm-hmm. We like kept playing Minecraft. We kept doing podcasts. We kept doing this and that. And it was just kind of like, okay, this is like a trusted friend that like I used to know in person. And even though we like live in different places now, because you moved away from Chattanooga.
I sure did.
In 2020. And so we were in completely different places. And then
we still are now.
We still are now.
What a
but
shame.
We're closer than we've ever been.
Somebody's going to have to pull the trigger.
But we're closer than we've ever been. You
have a girlfriend. Chill out.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
Calm down.
I forgot. So
don't make me call her.
Yeah, we did Minecraft all of 2021. We talked on FaceTime all the time.
Yeah. Not daily, but at least
once or twice
2
a week.
or 3 times a week.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I don't know. I also think, and this is a weird thing to say, establishing essentially our main friendship online helped the podcast.
It so did.
Because we didn't know anything else. It wasn't like, oh, we have to be online and it sucks and I miss you, Pookie Bear.
Stop.
It was like, oh, that's just Nick. He's my online friend and we do a podcast remote. Like, that's just it.
Right.
That's the normal. It's abnormal for him to be in the same room as me. And so I thought that was weirdly helpful. Like, that was the weird thing about COVID was like, that was probably the best thing to come out of it with that quarantine period.
Yeah, I would agree. It was rough because I'd also just moved and I didn't really have any friends because only at the new place we moved for 6 months before I moved out for college.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have time, and we weren't like established in a church yet or anything.
Right.
And I didn't have any friends. So having like the one person outside of my girlfriend,
Right.
who I could just like, hey, you want to chill and play Minecraft or
Right.
Battlefront or after, because I remember my Xbox Live expired in January.
Yeah.
We started playing Monopoly.
No, yeah, we did
and
Monopoly on the
Jeopardy.
Switch, and now we're doing that live.
And now we do Fortnite. Like,
Here we
you want
are.
to hop on
Dude,
and play Fortnite?
Fortnite is lit.
Did I get you back into Fortnite, or did you get me back into Fortnite?
I think I got you back into Fortnite.
I think that's
Because I only got into it because my friends were into it. And then, like,
And then you were like, you should get
I was like,
Fortnite.
you should
and I was
get
like, yeah,
Fortnite.
Fortnite is cringe. And now we play it like at least
like
once
all
a
the
week.
time. Yeah, it's lit. It's
Man,
lit.
that's crazy. To
Isn't
think
that-
that like
isn't
we
that
were
crazy?
not friends and now we are friends. It's almost
Isn't
like
that
that's how
crazy
friendships work.
that we weren't friends,
and now we
and
are.
now we are friends.
This is not like the YouTuber
Dude.
drama where they're like, we got married because the content dictated that we should.
Yeah.
And
so
then we get divorced 5 years later.
5 years
I was
later.
unhappy
Oh, no.
the whole time.
Oh, so man, there's your origin story.
Wow.
That's what's up. Yeah,
I think this is the end part.
the end part where we
Well, the
recap.
second to last.
Yeah,
So
We
I
can
had this
make this
idea
quick.
last night.
last night.
Literally, we were sitting here putting our notes together, and I was like, what if we reached out to all of our guests? Did you write down the one we got this morning?
No, I can read it.
Are you just going to pull it up?
I can pull it up.
Okay. So I had this idea last night. What if we reached out to all of our prior guests
Uh-huh.
who have been on the show? And I'm going to double check and make sure I'm not missing one.
Because it was so last minute.
Because it was so last minute.
but we just reached out for comment.
We reached out for comment because it would feel kind of weird because yes, it is our podcast. And
Right.
like, but we've also had a handful of guests.
Right.
So we wanted to honor those guests and reach
Mhm.
out and ask them for comment. And the comment was, what was your favorite part of being on the podcast?
Mhm.
So that's the question they were answering now.
Yep.
The first guest I will read.
Yeah.
Because the first guest is Colin with no I. Because we started the podcast together.
Mhm.
And I asked him two questions. One was, what was your favorite part about being on? But then also, what made you want to start the podcast?
Yeah.
Because we started the podcast together.
Mhm.
So it would kind of feel weird to me to not ask that part of the question.
Yeah.
So his answer was, for a favorite part of being on the podcast was, I would say just being able to say random things and having people who could immediately match the energy was really great.
Mm-hmm.
And then as for why he started the podcast was, I'd always wanted to start a podcast for a while, and we were just two Ruby fans who had no idea what we were talking about. Absolutely true. His first episode was episode 1. Two nerds talk about Ruby Volume 1, Episode 7, The Greatest Kingdom. I made you write down the entire title.
Yeah. That's a stupid title.
The next two guests I reached out to, but I haven't gotten a comment back yet. So if I hear from them by the next episode, I'll mention it. But it is Rebel Bricks and Childish Landino. They were on episode 3. Three nerds talk about the Skywalker saga. That was the first episode I did that wasn't Ruby related.
Yeah, that was the first episode I ever listened to.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
to mention that.
I listened
On
to that
episode 8, he gets on and he introduces himself like an absolute goober. I was like, hey
Yeah.
guys, I'm here with Jackson Glass from the Glass
Yep.
Studios. You want to introduce yourself? And he's like, yeah, I listen to your podcast about Star Wars on the plane on the way to like Colorado. And then he stops halfway through and he's like,
Yeah.
that was really cringy. Cut that out. And then I didn't cut it out.
No, that was me being like, oh, I don't want them to think I'm this.
Oh, I don't want him to think I'm a
no.
nerd.
Yeah. But I was like, no, that was stupid. I listened to it on a plane home from Colorado. So
I'll
like,
let you
duh.
read. Man, I
Yeah.
hate that most of the rest of these are your friends.
Right. So we.
Can I read the one that's not your friend and let you read the ones that are all your friends?
Which one is not my friend?
The next one.
No, you don't get to read that.
Why not?
So we reached out. I feel like I'm on an episode of Dr. Phil.
Fine. Go ahead.
I'm on an episode of like Murray.
Speak.
We reached out for comment on Megan with no H.
Fine.
And
I almost said friend of the show. Can I say that? Kind
no.
of. No. Not anymore. Can
friend
I-
of the show.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
like, can we? Okay. For those who don't know, it's been like, she hasn't been on since what, 64?
Yeah.
Like, it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Megan and I have been friends
Right.
for like 10 years. And we dated for the last 3 years, but we're not anymore. So it's kind of awkward. That's why we've been kind of dancing around it. Because I don't want to be mean.
Right.
But I also don't want to lie to the audience.
There's no hate, no shade.
Right. No hate, no shade. We did reach out because she is on the guest list.
Right. She's an important...
And honestly, she was on a lot of episodes.
Right.
So it would feel really weird to reach out to all of the other guests.
And not her.
Just because of that one thing.
And she responded.
She did. Good for her.
So
I didn't think she would.
Megan with no H said, I had a fun time when I was on it, and I liked the writing episode we did with Sam, and Cars is still the best movie. Happy 100 episodes.
That's debatable, but that's whatever. I said I wouldn't be mean.
That was great. You can read the next one.
Oh,
you can
cool.
read the next two.
Okay. The next one is from Scott, who was first on episode 29, Three Nerds Talk About Movies. He said, honestly, just getting to hang out with y'all, probably my favorite part.
That's tender.
And then the next one was Sam Glass, which is Jackson's sister.
Whoa!
Her first episode, and the only episode, episode 40.
For now.
Interview with Sam Glass. Very great title.
Yeah, she's doing a lot of writing. You should go follow her.
I think it was just a really fun experience overall. It was an honor to be included on the show because of my writing, and I really just enjoyed getting to talk about nerdy stuff in a nerdy environment.
Where nerds talk about nerdy things, baby.
What can I say?
We reached out to AJ from Genre Geeks,
Didn't respond in time.
Who was first on episode 66, the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 review. We have a running bit with them.
We need to get him on an episode that's not gaming related.
Because we got him on Sonic 2 and the Mario movie review.
He wasn't on again until the Mario movie a year later.
Funny. I feel like it's a bit at this point.
Don't worry, AJ. We have a great slot for you on a future episode. We've got some great slots
for you soon. Yeah, he didn't respond in time. We'll write that. In the next episode whenever we get the response. Yeah. Also, shout out to when we filmed the Mario movie review 30 minutes after my dog died.
Can we give I do want to give a brief guest shout out. I know we didn't reach out to her.
Yeah.
But guest shout out to Hannah.
Oh gosh.
Because one, she helped us do our first line of stickers last year.
Yeah, that was
and also we were supposed to do a Doctor Strange 2 review with her, and then we recorded the whole episode, and then the Apple voice memos crapped out.
Yeah,
and we didn't get her audio.
We lost it all.
So I do feel like we owe her an episode at some point.
Yeah,
she's got to find the right topic.
Yeah.
And
Rest
we'll get
in
her
peace.
to come back on.
Rest in peace. Thank you. Yay, Friendly and Creative. That was what it was called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She was our first it was on her Etsy shop. We ran our first line of stickers as to test the waters of merch, and here we are on the Nerdiest podcast.
Now we got real merch.
So
not real. You know.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Next comment is from Logan Urig, who started on episode 77, the definitive Pixar tier list. That's a great episode.
That's my favorite episode.
No, that might be
That's
my favorite.
my favorite.
That's a banger. He said, I loved how passionate y'all were for Cars 2. Plus, it was very fun to be part of like-minded people. Cars 2 is what's up. Cars 2 is what's up. Two left. Do you want to read Gavin or Colin?
I'll take Gavin.
Okay, so I'll read Colin. Colin Harris, who's one of my friends, said, on episode 94, Childhood Video Games, that's when Nick was gone playing Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep.
He
Top
said,
tier bit, by the way.
That was 10 out of 10. That's got to be our best bit so far.
I hated it because I missed recording, and I still had to edit it.
That was our best bit. I think second best was my Gandalf bit, where I opened as Gandalf and was like, oh my gosh, guys, where's Jackson go? Anyway, Colin said, I really like how talking to people with similar interests or childhoods can bring back treasured memories or things that you might have forgotten but remember fondly now. In my case specifically, it was a lot of Webkinz things. I like bonding over childhood treasures and hopefully making others remember that too and smile.
How tender.
So tender. What a tender man.
Wow.
I love him.
And the last one, most recent guest, is Gavin Kopko, as mentioned earlier,
Right.
Ugh. He was on episode 95, underrated movie soundtracks. That's also when I was gone.
Banger episode.
My personal favorite part of being on the Nerdiest podcast is how y'all don't just need to nerd about one thing. It's like y'all are nerds, but most nerds are only nerdy about one thing. But like anime, you got it. Star Wars, heck yeah. Music, also yes. That is why it's the Nerdiest podcast and not because I never wanted to limit myself to just talking about Star Wars.
Right.
Or just talking about one thing. Because I
Right.
wanted to be able to talk about all of the nerdy
The
things that I like.
expansion.
So that's why the title or the name
It's pretty
is good,
pretty blanket term.
but it's pretty open.
Yeah. Open for interpretation,
Man.
if we're honest. Man,
That was it.
that was it.
Do you have any like closing comments?
I mean, I don't know what else to say other than thank you. And essentially, this show would not exist without such a loyal fan base. And when we reached out for questions, we were funny and we were like, oh, let's throw some of Nick's questions in and like this and that just to beef it up. But like we got so many questions from people that wanted to submit questions, and they were honest questions and great questions. And I was just like, I feel the love, and I thank you so much, because when you make stuff and you make podcasts, show like movies, YouTube video, whatever, you kind of forget people can see it. And so when I press stop on the record button, I don't remember a single thing I've said. And so I just go let it out. Like just okay. And so knowing that people not only want to listen but are listening, and they're like excited, hearing people excited for merch and people like talking about Patreon, and they're like, yeah, totally, this and that, and talking to people in my social circles that are like, oh, I heard you talk about this and that. And so that just, it's so discouraging to do content and no one cares. And I know, because I did that for years. So long I would make stuff and no one watched it, which, like we said earlier, wasn't the point, but it's discouraging. It is. It's hard. And you have to come to terms with that. And this is the first time I feel like people are watching. People are listening and they care. And so I just say 200 episode special win.
At 200 episodes.
And I'm going to quote one of my favorite movies, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, where he said, hey, we're back, baby, like we went anywhere.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my closing remark, is just thank you, because, you know, as the audience, you have the power. And so we can create all we want, but it's up to you to watch it and listen to it. And I'm internally grateful for how incredible the audience and the community has been.
Yeah. I think for me, my closing statement is also just thank you, because I genuinely never thought I would get here.
Yeah.
It was always this distant thing of like, when we did episode 20, it was like, oh wow, only 80 more to go. And then you get to 50 and it's like, oh, only 50 more to go. That's crazy. Like, well, surely we'll sputter out at 75 and then, oh, only 25 more to go. And then we got to this year and I had to put episode 100 on the calendar. Like, I had to put it on the schedule, and it didn't feel very real until like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago when we filmed the direct.
Yeah.
And I had to actually say, like, we're getting ready for episode 100. And I knew in my mind that was the next episode we had to record.
Yep.
And that, because we had already recorded 98 and 99.
Yeah.
So like 100 was the next one. And it's just one of those things. This is the first project where I've done it and never felt like I needed anything out of it. Like I've talked at length about like the Lego Maniacs and, oh, I just made it because I wanted to get the ad revenue. And like, this is the first project where I've just been like, do I want the merch to be successful? Yes. Do I want the Patreon to be successful? Yes. I want it to be successful and make money, but if it doesn't, I don't feel like I've failed. And it was just like, it's just like full circle moment of like, very similar to graduating college, where I remember starting college and being like, oh, well, I'll graduate eventually. And then it comes around. It's like, you ever get that feeling where like you talk about something so much and you think, oh, well, it'll happen eventually. Like, that's how I was with Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom.
I talked about it so much, and then it like I was like, oh, well, yeah, I'll play it eventually, but it never became real until you're actually doing it.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is like, and just having started, I never talked about the manga section. Oh well, it's not that important.
Screw it. There was a spin-off of the Nerdiest podcast where we talked about manga for 14 episodes. That's all you need to know.
But that's part of this. The story is like, I've done so many different podcasts,
Right.
and to have one that finally
It clicked.
and
Yeah.
hit, and people who reach out and say, hey, I'm using this podcast to learn English. Like that, like I said earlier, that was such a big thing for me, is I never thought anyone would use my content or something that I've made just to learn another language, or to help influence their opinion on movie, or to like find new movie recommendations or anime recommendations, like that video I made earlier this year. Like, it's
surreal.
Wild.
It's surreal.
And it's kind of crazy to think, like, we have a platform. Like you said earlier,
Yeah.
we have a platform, and there are people who follow us. And there are a lot of people who I know are dedicated listeners who listen to every episode. Maybe they never answer a question. Maybe they never buy merch. Maybe they never get on the Patreon.
That's not
But
what I
that's okay.
ask. I just want, if nothing else, listen.
Exactly.
Like,
as long as you're enjoying the content, that's all I want
Yeah.
for the audience. Like,
Yeah.
we'll have extra stuff for those who want to go above and beyond. But that's like just making good content for good people that everyone can listen to, regardless of age, gender, nationality, whatever. Like,
Right.
we're here to talk about movies, because that's something I felt like I never had growing up as a kid. Was this, like, this thing where I could listen to it, because all my favorite YouTubers, like, they swore, and I never felt like I could watch it in front of my mom. And like, this is that I'm becoming the change that I want to see.
Right.
And that is so big for me. So another 100 episodes, another 200 episodes,
Another 100 episodes.
We have to get to 365 so we can have one for every day of the year.
one for every day of the year.
And then, like, we got to get to 420,
Oh, dude.
obviously.
690.
690. We got to go all the way. 1,000 episodes.
Whoa.
Dude, we'll be like freaking 80 years old when we reach episode 1,000.
Shout out to when I said I'd have to schedule a podcast around my wedding
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Before you had a girlfriend? And
And
now we're, like,
now-
actually talking
and
about
now
it?
I'm like, oh, that's true.
That's another thing that I feel like I haven't talked about
No, me neither.
at all with the podcast, is it feels like it's documenting my life
It feels
now.
like a diary.
Like, I can go back and listen to episode 1 and realize that I was in my first semester of senior year of high school. And
Yeah.
between then, like, episode 1 and now, I've graduated college.
Yeah.
I've gone through, like, a full relationship. I have an adult job now.
Yeah.
Like, I moved to college and moved back. I've been in, like, multiple
Yeah.
different houses. Like, I can't imagine, like, what we're going to be looking back on episode 200.
Right.
Like, what's going to be
so
different?
different? Like, is this going to be the norm?
Right.
Like, this is so special.
episode 200, we could have kids.
Right.
Like,
So that's the other thing I was going to bring up is, like, I have just seen myself grow through it. And I've seen, like I was just the single junior in high school loser when we started. And I don't want to be like that guy that's like, podcasting gave me my confidence. But I'm like,
but what if it did?
what if it did? Who's to say?
Like, genuinely speaking, what if it
genuinely
did?
speaking, I feel like I never considered that, but yeah, like, I learned how to, like, that my opinions were valid by doing this. And I, like, am in a committed relationship now, and, like, I can look back to me with my super short hair and no beard in my stupid little office with my empty shelves, and, like, I kind of, like, built up my shelves, and now I'm in college, and then I'm back home, and then I'm in college again, like, over the summer. I'm gonna be graduated, and we're still gonna be doing this.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna be like, it's in the sense of it being a diary is not what I expected it to be, but it's like the most, I think, beneficial thing that I've seen from it. And I'm like, my kids are going to be able to listen to this.
Yeah.
My kids will listen to me grow up through this. And that's beautiful.
That's wild.
so-
And, like, they'll even be able to hear themselves grow up.
Right. They'll hear
Because
themselves.
surely we'll talk about our
Surely
own
we're going to be talking
kids.
about my kids. And so that's the other thing, is podcasts are for everyone. This is what we've also talked about, is like, there's no implied paywall behind a podcast. That's why Patreon and merch and stuff and, like, all this stuff is so important for podcasters, is because it's 9 times out of 10, it's a passion project.
Yep.
and it's supposed to. Now there's these corporate podcasts like that. That doesn't count. I'm not talking about
That's
that.
not a real podcast.
I'm talking about our friends that are like also on this grind of like every week or every other week we're going to record for this amount of time and in this topic. Like, it's some of the most passionate people I've ever met are podcast hosts.
Yeah.
And
because it takes a lot of dedication to get to this point.
The average lifespan of a podcast is 7 episodes. And so
we're
being
93
here,
past that.
Being here at episode 100 is surreal. And cheers to episode 200.
By episode 200, we'll actually be able to drink. Because he'll be 21.
We'll actually
have a nice like whiskey or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hate alcohol.
I don't know.
It's not very good.
Yeah, me too.
I'll be drinking kombucha. That'll be my drink of choice. Is
do you guys have
a bottle of kombucha?
Do you guys have Fresca on tap?
So I think that's
I think that's about it.
I think that's it.
Man, thank you for listening.
For like this 4-hour podcast.
It's 3. We just hit 3 hours.
Oh.
Thank you for listening to
this
this
longest episode
of the
ever.
Nerdiest podcast. The longest episode ever.
We'll never hit 3 hours again.
Don't say that. Because we will. We will. We're going to do like Fast and Furious franchise
If people
revisit.
actually listen to this episode,
then why not?
I would consider like bumping up, not
bumping
for
up
every
our
episode,
average, right?
But like if we have a lot to talk about,
then why not?
Just let the conversation flow.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Nerdiest podcast. Thank you for listening all this time.
All these episodes. If you want to jump off here, this is your like Marvel exit point.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Please don't.
No, JK. This is
we're
not
actually
our end
gonna
game.
be good.
This is not our end game.
Our end game is episode 1000.
Yeah, no, literally. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Instagram. I feel so dumb doing such a normal plug at the end of this like
Here, I got you.
heart-wrenching episode.
If you want to stay up to date with the podcast and all of the things that we're doing post episode 100, we got a lot of great stuff planned.
Things.
You can follow us on Instagram at the Nerdiest Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, not X, Twitter at Nerdiest Pod. And if you want to get some great exclusive content that we're going to start rolling out very soon, you can check us out on patreon.com/Nerdiest Podcast. If you like what we do here and you want to support the show, that is probably the best way to do it. Actually, no, that's a lie.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We'll have this whole thing ironed out by next episode. We haven't figured it out.
Subscribe on YouTube at the Nerdiest Podcast.
That's the best way to support us.
All the links are down below.
Following the podcast and sharing it with people who you think might enjoy it. And if you want to go the extra mile and support the show because you like what we do here, you can follow or you
subscribe to our Patreon.
Subscribe to our Patreon. There's
We've
a
been
$1
recording for
tier.
3 hours.
$1 tier. I'm very hungry. I want Chick-fil-A. There's a $1 tier where you'll get a shout out at the end of every episode, and there's a $5 tier where you'll get some exclusive content. We're gonna start doing a little
after show action
bonus episode.
You know what's up.
And you'll have access to those bonus episodes at $5 a month.
And buy merch.
At the nerdiestpodcast.com.
Official merch. The nerdiestpodcast.com.
We got shirts. We got hats. We got jackets and stickers. We got plenty more stuff planned.
Good stuff.
For the future.
All the links are in the description. Once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Until next episode, we will see you.
We'll be back to normal shenanigans in 2 weeks.
Until next time.
We will not have another 3-hour episode, I promise.
Bye.